Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if 8-year-old Naruto awake never seen before Bloodline Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for Part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. A young boy was currently on his bed under the throes of heat-induced agony as his entire body is racked with fever. His spiky blonde hair is matted with sweat as he tossed and turned as if suffering from a nightmare. The young boy's name was Uzumaki Naruto. Many would ask why such a kid is alone on his bed without anyone to care for him while he was sick. The answer is simple: Naruto is an orphan and is considered as the village pariah. Naruto grew up in Konoha alone with only a few of its people showing him kindness and love. A major part of the population treat him like a pariah, with the rest are just indifferent to his existence. He grew up not knowing his parents, and all he got from the leader of the village, which he affectionately calls Gigi, that they both died the night of the Kyuubi attack, the night he was born into this world almost 8 years ago. After he was tossed out of the orphanage at the age of 5, the Sannin Hokage bequeathed him the use of a rundown apartment at the western edge of the village with a weekly allowance for food and supplies. He grew up alone since then, with only the Sannin visiting him from time to time during his free time. Forced to grow up on his own, Naruto showed a maturity that shouldn't exist in an almost 8-year-old boy. He should be playing around with the other kids of the village without a care in the world. But the animosity of the villagers was passed down to their children. Thus young Naruto grew up shunned and alone, with only himself as company. Unknown to Naruto, he was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the nine-tailed demon fox, that attacked Konoha on the day he was born. But despite everything that happened to him, the hateful glares, the harsh words, the ridicules, and the occasional beating on his birthdays, he still retained his childlike innocence that he happily shows to those that he loved, dropping his mask of indifference and coldness that he usually wears in front of the rest of Konoha. While the child was tossing and turning in his sleep, deep inside his mind, another presence woke up from its deep slumber by the sudden sickness that racked the body of his container. The Kyuubi no Kitsune was confused. His millennia of experience did not prepare him for the sickness that suddenly gripped his vessel. No matter how much of his chakra he sends to his vessel's system to get rid or overpower the problem, it was continuously rebuffed as if an unknown force shielded his vessel's body from it, and no matter how hard he tried, which was exceptional in his case, nothing bore fruit. Oh, he was trying hard, oh yes he was. The Kyuubi felt fear for the first time in his entire existence, for he knows when his vessel succumbs to death, so would he do to the Shinigami's godforsaken seal that trapped him inside the boy. Despite all the things he did to his vessel's body after the sealing to ensure that he survives whatever ordeal he will face when he grows old enough to be on his own, this blasted fever was slowly killing his vessel, and no amount of regeneration and increased chakra capacity can do anything about it. So while his vessel suffered for hours under a very high fever, Kyuubi was doing his damn best to manipulate his energy towards his container just to get rid of the problem. Hours he worked, but nothing seemed to work. Desperation forced the immortal being to work harder, but all his efforts were futile. In the end, Kyuubi sighed and pulled all his energy back into its body and waited for his death to come. What an idiotic way to die. Me, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the most powerful bijou, death due to fever. I don't know if I should feel humiliated or disturbed. Kyuubi grumbled. He sighed again and gazed back at the pipes running through the ceiling of the sewer-like cavern that he was imprisoned in, noting absently the brownish energy appearing and disappearing along the pipes. He shrugged it off as nothing. He was about to go into a nap when the same energy pulsed again. He raised an eyebrow at the phenomenon. His curiosity piqued. He focused the limited senses he had on the body of his vessel and noticed that instead of the body deteriorating due to sickness, the unknown energy was slowly improving his host's body. Interesting. It seems that my vessel isn't dying after all, but what is happening to him? He mused as he stretched his senses again to check on his vessel's current condition, and was surprised at what he found. All his years alive in the world did not prepare him on what the energy was doing to his host's biology. Chakra coils were being improved, especially towards the major senses. The unknown energy was saturating his vessel's cells with purposes unknown, guessing that it was actually improving everything it touched or even changing to purpose unknown. Interesting indeed. It seems that my time in this world is not yet at an end. We shall see where this development will lead. Surprise me, my vessel, on the time that we meet. Chuckled Kyuubi as he laid his head down on his paw for a nap, no longer afraid that death would claim him during his rest. Naruto woke up from his feverish sleep without any concept of time. He can feel his weakened body protest as he tiredly swiveled his head to check on the clock beside his bed so he can determine how long he has been asleep. His eyes widened in shock when he saw the date. 2 days. He's been asleep for 2 days. How in the world did that happen? His incredulous state, however, was broken when his stomach grumbled, telling him that he was hungry, very hungry judging from the racket it was making. Despite his weakened condition, he painfully forced his body to get off his bed despite the creaking of locked joints and sleeping muscles. He lumbered over to the bathroom and relieved himself before taking a cold shower. He braced himself for the sudden rush of cold water since the apartment didn't have any heating system installed and would be too expensive for him to do so on his own. To his surprise, the water is surprisingly warm, so he lavished in the feeling and took some time to get rid of the sweat and grime that he accumulated due to his 2-day coma. He got out of the shower, muscles no longer sore and totally relaxed. He padded over to the sink to brush his teeth, but when he saw his reflection in the mirror, his jaw dropped at the sight before him. "What the heck happened to me?" he shouted in surprise, awe, and slight fear at the sight before him. He was surprised that his short and malnourished state was replaced by an athlete, noticeably better for someone his age, as if he was eating healthy and exercising his whole life. He was considered as the runt of the Shinobi Academy, being the shortest of his age group. But now, he was standing at least 5 feet 1 inch, very tall for his age group. He also noticed that his body is no longer displaying skin and bones. Sinewy muscles lined his body and is quite evident every time he flexed and stretched. Replacing his gaunt thin frame was a chiseled body that could easily make an athlete green with envy. He is now sporting a well-chiseled chest, ripped 6-pack abs. His biceps were well-defined even for someone his age. To be honest, he was happy despite the fact he could never figure out what happened to him. He was ripped, and he loved it. Some might find it weird that his body suddenly changed overnight, but for him it was a godsend. He happily, yet tiredly toweled himself dry and went to his closet to get something to wear before heading over to Ichiraku Ramen for a hearty treat. After all, it was his birthday 2 days ago, so treating himself to a hearty meal is normal. He forgone his usual orange jumpsuit, since it no longer fit his new frame. He opted instead for a black shirt and gray baggy pants that the Hokage gifted to him last year, but he didn't wear it since he could never forgive himself for wearing any but orange. Checking himself in the mirror and found everything to his liking, he grabbed his trusty frog wallet, affectionately nicknamed Gamachan, placed it in one of his pants pocket for safekeeping, and left the apartment. Despite how tired he was, Naruto marveled at the improvement of his body. He no longer felt weak and lethargic that he used to feel due to his malnourished state. In fact, he felt that he could run around the village at maximum speed without tiring, though he decided to avoid doing so since his stomach was demanding his attention in earnest. As he walked through the street towards his favorite food stop, he partially ignored the hateful stares directed at him by the villagers. However, he almost tripped when he heard them despite their distance. "Look at him, walking down the street as if he owns the place, the demon brat." Naruto looked around and saw no one near him. He was confused as to where the voice came from. However, his confusion increased even more when his ears were assaulted by various people talking despite the fact that they were too far away for him to hear. Damn the Hokage for enacting that law. If it wasn't for that, then the demon brat should have been killed a long time ago. Shut up. There are ANBUs around. We don't want to get in trouble just because you said something you shouldn't. Naruto swiveled his head to the direction of the noise and saw 2 of the merchants talking in hushed tones. He can clearly hear what they were saying despite the fact that they were far away from him. Deciding to test his theory, he followed the rest of the noise to see who was speaking. "I wonder if I should get an apple for my sister," a girl in front of a fruit stand was saying while checking out the selection of fruits in front of her. "Ten, don't forget to deliver the shurikens to the address that I gave you," said an old man to a girl in front of her with 2 buns on her hair. "Sure, Dad, but make sure that you give me those kunais you promised after this delivery," replied the girl before speeding off. More sounds assaulted his ears as he focused his hearing. It was amazing. He can hear very far judging from the distance of the speakers. He knew that he didn't have this ability before, and now, after his fever-induced sleep, he seemed to have developed a keen hearing like those in the dog clan. He continued to walk towards Ichiraku while listening to the various sounds around him, but increased his step when he suddenly smelled the delicious aroma of ramen coming from his personal heaven on earth. He noticed that he could also smell better since Ichiraku Ramen was still 3 blocks away. He was intrigued and decided to test everything later, but for now, his ramen awaits. Ichiraku Tuchi and his daughter Ayam was picking their jaws off the floor as they looked at Naruto devouring bowls after bowls of ramen as if it was the end of the world. He was currently at his 15th bowl and no signs of stopping. It was unbelievable. Their favorite customer usually stops at 10 or 15 bowls, but now he exceeded his usual limit and didn't show signs of stopping anytime soon. They were brought out of their shock when Naruto asked for another bowl, which they hurriedly complied to make sure that their number one customer stayed with them and not bring business anywhere else, though Naruto already told them before that nothing can ever beat their heavenly ramen concoctions and have no plans of changing his preference anytime soon. After an hour, Naruto burped unabashedly, and laid down his 23rd bowl of ramen down on the table and let out a hearty sigh. His previous tiredness seems to have disappeared after each bowl of ramen, and now he was feeling an overabundance of energy that would be perfect for his personal training later on. He didn't even complain that his Gamachan took quite a hit. He was just too hungry to think about his savings. "That was great, Tochihaji-san. Your ramen is the best," exclaimed Naruto after releasing another loud burp which caused both the ramen chef and his daughter to laugh. "Of course. What do you expect? I am the best ramen chef in the world," Tochi declared with fires burning in his eyes. "You got it, old man. When I become Hokage, I will make ramen the national food of Konoha." "Believe it," said Naruto with the same fire and determination in his eyes. Ayam just sighed as she watched his father and his surrogate brother declare their undying love towards ramen. She rolled her eyes at them and proceeded to clean up the mess. After a few more minutes of declaring his love for ramen, Naruto bid everyone goodbye and left, but not before Ayam gave him a brief hug and a kiss on the cheek which caused the poor boy to blush red like a tomato, who sped out of the shop to avoid further embarrassment with Ayam's tinkling laugh following him all the way. Damn his newfound hearing. Naruto reached his personal training group deep in the forest that surrounded Konoha. It wasn't as if Naruto wasn't allowed to use the training grounds that littered the village, he just wanted his training to be kept secret to avoid the ire of the Konoha public. Unlike popular beliefs, Naruto wasn't stupid. In fact, he learned early that acting is one of the best ways to avoid being beaten to a pulp or being ridiculed by his academy teachers. So after his first year in the academy, Naruto decided to hide his skills and intelligence under a mask of stupidity and boisterousness to pacify the public's belief. He even delved into the art of pranking just to add to the persona. People no longer hated him for the QB, despite him not knowing about his burden, they hated him for his rather embarrassing pranks. He was happy that it worked like a charm. Upon arriving at his favorite training ground, he decided to think about what happened to his body. Aside from the obvious physical improvements, it seems that his senses were improved as well. He already knew about the boost he got on his hearing, smell, and taste, the latter of which further improved his ramen addiction that allowed him to break his previous record, which he also noticed as well since he doesn't usually eat that much compared to what his classmate Chuji usually eats during lunchtime. Deciding it best to test out his body through training, he started out with a few laps around the training ground to check his physical limit. He noticed that his speed has improved, as well as his stamina. When he reached his usual 5-lap limit at top speed without getting winded, he increased his pace and proceeded to just run until he got tired. He moved through the trees like a blur, avoiding upturned roots, occasional rabbits and squirrels, even jumping from one branch to another just for the fun of it, all at top speed, which was 10 times as fast as he used to have. It took him a total of 3 hours before he got tired enough to stop, which was an amazing feat in itself. He dropped down on the grass and stared at the clouds while pondering the sudden improvement on his body. He already tested out his speed and stamina, so the only thing left is his strength. He spent a few more minutes to rest his tired muscles before standing up and moving to one of the bigger trees in the clearing. He relaxed himself with a few deep breaths before going into the standard academy taijutsu stance, and took a deep breath before releasing a powerful fist towards the trunk. The results shocked him. His fist met the trunk and pulverized the first few inches of it. At the strength he released, he didn't even feel any pain on his knuckles, which was another shock to itself since his healing wasn't even that fast to begin with, and he usually suffered some mild ache after releasing a strong punch on a tree or training dummy. He continued to punch the tree in earnest, increasing his strength until he reached his limit. After 30 minutes of punching, the tree he was practicing on finally gave way and fell, releasing a loud crash that echoed throughout the clearing. Naruto was shocked at the power of his punches. He looked at his knuckles comically, then at the tree, then back at his knuckles. He grinned. He need to tell Hokage about this. He ran back to the village at top speed, leaving a trail of dust and dry leaves in his wake. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage, was mourning as he continued to fight the godforsaken paperwork that littered his desk. He's been working at it for hours now, and the pile didn't seem to lessen. In fact, it seems to have grown a few inches more. He cursed but refused to stop since he knew that the damn paper would multiply like rabbits if left alone. He sighed as he stamped another hateful document with relish. How he longed to have a distraction just so he could take a few minutes of rest. His prayers were answered when the door to hhis office was opened with a loud bang, revealing a widely grinning Naruto, his surrogate grandson. The grinning face brought a smile to his lips despite how tired he was of his work. It was a miracle how someone of Naruto's reputation always brings a smile to his face despite the hardships that the boy went through. He knew that he would either go suicidal or homicidal with all the punishment the boy went through. He frowned, however, when he noticed something different about the blonde. Naruto was taller, more muscular, and the lack of orange on his clothing brought alarm bells ringing inside his head. He chose to ignore it and wait for an explanation that he surmised would be the reason that the blonde visited him. With a smile still plastered on his face, he addressed the boy. "What brings you here, Naruto-kun?" the Hokage asked the smiling blonde. "Gigi. Something amazing happened to me," Naruto exclaimed with excitement. The Hokage quirked an eyebrow at the declaration. "This should be interesting." "Really? Well, grab a seat and tell me all about it." The Hokage gestured towards an empty seat in front of his desk which the blonde happily took. "I had a fever a couple of days ago, and I woke up this morning and found my body changed," blurted blonde. "Really now, Naruto-kun? What do you mean changed? Please tell me everything and don't leave anything out," demanded the Hokage in a soft voice, trying to puzzle out the drastic change in his hyperactive surrogate grandson. Naruto scratched the back of his head while gathering his thoughts. "Well, I woke up this morning tired from getting a fever a few days back. I went to the bathroom to take a shower, and when I stood in front of the mirror, I saw that I became taller and got these cool muscles now. I feel so strong, I can hear even from far away, smell and taste better. It's all so cool," declared Naruto with childlike exuberance. Now the Hokage was worried. Such changes to the body can only have a few explanations. But in Naruto's case as the QB vessel, such changes could possibly mean that the beast was making the changes for the boy, which was never a good thing. It is also possible that there are other reasons as well, but this requires a thorough check by a medic. He decided to satisfy his curiosity, and proceeded to do just that. "Well, Naruto-kun, if you're not busy, maybe we can go to the hospital and have your body checked to make sure that everything is alright. After all, suffering from a fever for days and having your body changed might cause some problems later on." Seeing Naruto nod, he pressed a button on his desk and informed the secretary that he will be taking the rest of the day off due to an important, impromptu appointment before proceeding to grab the boy on the shoulder and shunch Ned out of the office to the front of the hospital. He let go of the boy and gestured for him to follow. A lot of civilians and shinobis bowed down to the Hokage but gave Naruto a glare which the boy ignored. The blatant disrespect towards the boy made the Hokage frown, but he pushed the incident to the back of his mind since there is something more important to take care of. They reached one of the offices that littered the building and entered without so much as a knock. The doctor, who was filling out a form behind his desk, saw his visitor and immediately stood up and gave the Hokage a bow. "Hokage-sama, what do I owe the pleasure of this visit?" He also noticed Naruto peeking behind their leader and gave the boy a smile. "Why, hello Naruto-kun. Is it time for your monthly checkup again?" "Hi Kaidoji-san. Hokage Gigi just told me to follow him, so I did," answered Naruto. He really liked this kind doctor since he was the only one in the hospital who was kind to him and took care of him every time he needs to visit the hospital. The Hokage addressed the smiling doctor. "Good afternoon, Kaido. Something strange happened to Naruto, and I would like you to give him a thorough checkup to make sure that nothing is amiss." He added the last part with extra emphasis, indicating that this is possibly a QB matter and doesn't want the boy to know about the beast yet. Kaido quirked an eyebrow at the hidden message behind the Hokage's words and nodded. He asked Naruto to sit on the bed, which the boy complied. "So Naruto-kun, tell me everything that happened and don't leave anything out, no matter how small." So the boy did, since he trusted the both of them with his life. After the story, Kaido asked Naruto to take off his shirt and pants, leaving him only in his boxers, and required him to lie down on the bed. He carefully noted the drastic change in his patient's physique and marveled at how improved Naruto's body was. He made a few seals before his hands is covered with green energy before proceeding to hover it over Naruto's body, taking a bit longer and scanning his stomach in the process. He frowned a bit before doing it all over again. After 20 minutes, he asked Naruto to get dressed before sitting down behind his desk while scribbling a few notes on a piece of paper which he later attached to a clipboard. "So Kaido, is there anything wrong with our ward here?" asked the Hokage while messing Naruto's hair a bit and giving a smile while the boy pouted for being treated like a kid. "Nothing is wrong with Naruto-kun, Hokage-sama. In fact, the boy is healthy, very healthy indeed," Kaido answered while putting the tip of his pen into his mouth, deep in thought. "So there is nothing bad regarding the changes?" asked the Hokage, again adding a hidden emphasis to bad to make sure that the right message is carried across. "No, in fact, while I was testing Naruto, it seemed that he awakened an unknown Kekkei Genkai that I know nothing of," the doctor informed the village leader with an excited gleam in his eyes. This stunned the Hokage. Naruto has a Kekkei Genkai? He knew both the boys' parents since they were kids and both didn't exhibit any bloodline with the symptoms that Naruto displayed. Well, except the mother, but that is mostly related to the beast. This was all confusing. Explain, the Hokage demanded. He needed more information if he needed to protect the boy, and he knew that the council will be on the boy's throat if they hear about this. From the diagnostics I performed on Naruto, it seems that his body changed according to a DNA strand that I picked up during my testing. Note that this was not present during last month's checkup. It seemed that the fever was the result of the bloodline going active in his system and used the comatose state to improve the boy's overall physique, explained the doctor. Are these all the changes involved with the bloodline? Asked the Hokage with a frown on his face. Naruto just continued to listen to the conversation even if some of the terms were alien to him. He just stayed quiet as he was taught to do by the good doctor when the grown-ups are talking. No. It changed everything in his biology. It seems that his bloodline also improved his senses, making him superior to the Inuzuka clan in regards to their dog-like abilities. Also, the bloodline also gave him a significant boost in muscle mass and bone density, so that explains that strength and speed. Another interesting fact to note is his already impressive regeneration. We all know for a fact that he can heal wounds quickly, almost like a bloodline. However, the sudden change also increased his regenerative prowess as well, so any wounds he receives will heal in a matter of seconds now, not to mention that his antibodies are working overtime to counteract any forms of poison or diseases that make its way into his system. The doctor paused for a bit, gathering his thoughts before continuing. The hyperactivity of this antibodies is what's causing the temperature, even if the reading itself would mean that the boy should be dead right now. In conclusion, by all intent and purposes, the boy is unkillable except for the most mortal wounds or decapitation. I am also excited to note that his new DNA sequence made him similar to that of a wolf-human hybrid, if that is all possible. Oh, one downside is his metabolism. All these changes require an increased amount of food intake, so that explains why he almost cleaned out Ichiraku earlier, explained the doctor, excitement increasing as he proceeded to mention the abilities the boy seems to possess. The Hokage choked at the information. This made Naruto one of the most powerful human in Konoha. If he was properly trained, then he would be a great addition to the shinobi force in the future. Heck, these abilities would even make him the most powerful Hokage if he achieved his dreams of becoming one. He also looked like he swallowed a lemon when the doctor mentioned the last part. A wolf? Are you sure it's a wolf? It isn't? The Hokage trailed off, knowing that the doctor understood his reference to the Kyuubi inside the boy. No. Definitely a wolf. I should know. I studied different animals before, since my thesis involves advancing medical technique using animals as a basis. It is definitely that of a wolf. The doctor confirmed the discovery with determination, as if daring the Hokage to disagree with him. Naruto listened to the two adults with a keen ear. He didn't recognize the heavy words they used, but he wasn't stupid. He got the gist of their conversation. He has a cool bloodline. Also, the amount of food he ate earlier at Ichiraku was indeed a result of his changes. He almost choked at how battered and empty his Gamachan would be starting from today. He needs to either earn money for food or he will be learning to hunt. The latter made him sweat, since he didn't even know how to hunt in the first place. However, he wanted to ask about the wolf part as well, so he voiced out his concern. Kaito Jiji, you said I'm a wolf? Asked an overexcited boy, his mind already conjuring up images of him with wolf ears, tails, claws, and fangs. Kaito smiled at the boy's innocent nature. No, Naruto-kun. You're not a wolf, but from what I discovered, your body is similar to that of a wolf. Your sense of hearing, smell, and taste, as well as your strength, speed, and reflex is uncannily similar to that of a wild wolf. The Hokage interrupted the two. So what does this all mean? It means that Naruto-kun here is the sole holder of an unknown body-based bloodline that resembled that of a wolf. But it seems that there is more to this bloodline, so I require additional tests. Are you both in a hurry? Asked the doctor calmly, but the excitement lacing his voice betrayed the innocence of the question, as if daring them to deny him this discovery under the promise of paying. This made the Hokage gulp and hurriedly decided to answer the fanatical doctor. No, we are free for today, so you can proceed with your tests. I want to make sure that Naruto-kun here is without any problems, answered the Hokage with a smile. Indeed, it was a powerful bloodline, but he doesn't want his surrogate grandson to suffer in the future because he was playing Hokage in this role instead of a grandfather. Kaito nodded and gestured for Naruto to stand up. Now, Naruto, we have already determined that you have an unknown body-based bloodline. Do you have any questions so far? Seeing the boy shrug in negative. Good. Now I want you to channel your chakra, as much as you can without straining yourself. You already know how to channel your chakra, right? Sure, Kaito-ji-san. Iruka-sensei already taught us that in the academy a few months back, answered Naruto. Perfect. Then please proceed. Instructed a pleased Kaido since he didn't need to teach the boy anything just to satisfy his medical curiosity. Naruto nodded and did a ram seal and released his hold on his chakra. The result staggered both the Hokage and the doctor. Upon previous checkup, they already knew that Naruto already have Jounin-level chakra reserves, but now, he is easily up there with the Kages. They were both flabbergasted at what they were seeing. The chakra Naruto was releasing was so powerful that it created a light blue aura around him. Kaido immediately gestured for Naruto to stop to avoid damaging the building with the amount of wild chakra the blonde was releasing. Amazing! Last month's checkup easily put him in Jounin chakra levels. But now, he is easily on Hokage levels and he is still developing. This is astounding. It seems whatever changed his physical makeup also boosted his chakra reserves as well. Simply amazing! Exclaimed an excited doctor as he jotted down the results on his clipboard. Naruto frowned after pulling the chakra back to his body. He decided to voice out his concerns. A Hokage-ji, Kaido-ji-san, something happened while I was channeling my chakra. Really, Naruto-kun? I didn't see anything wrong, said Kaido as he continued to scribble on his clipboard, not bothering to look at Naruto. When you asked me to channel my chakra, I see you all a lot better. The colors were brighter, and I can see all of you clearly, even that small mark on your right eyebrow. My vision is back to normal though, said Naruto apprehensively, thinking that he might have something wrong with his recent change. Kaido's eyebrows rose quickly at the information. To see the pinprick mark hidden behind his eyebrows was astounding. He got it while he was still a field medic when he was pecked by one of the birds he was studying and no one knew about it, except now. Well, it seems that your bloodline is definitely body-based and a Dijitsu as well. It seems that an application of chakra to your eyes also improves your vision as well. Curious, very curious, muttered Kaido while taking a few notes in Naruto's medical file. What's a Dijitsu? Asked a curious Naruto. He didn't know the term, but he knew instinctively that it was of significance. The Hokage chose to answer this query from the blonde boy. A Dijitsu, Naruto-kun, is an eye-based technique that displays specific characteristics and results. Are you with me so far? Naruto nodded, so he continued. Most Dijitsus requires chakra to activate, and yours seems to be one of them, and it seems to be part of your bloodline. To give you an example, the Hyuga clan has a Dijitsu called the Byakugan. This allows them to have a 360-degree vision, allowing them to see almost everywhere at once, even through walls. Another example is the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan. Upon hearing the explanation, Naruto jumped out of his chair and bounced around the room in excitement. Woohoo! I have a cool Dijitsu. I have a cool bloodline. Woohoo! The two adults looked at the bouncing kid in amusement, and were heartened that the kid didn't lose his smile even after the years of suffering under the idiot villager's actions. The Hokage decided to curb the boy's excitement to get to the important part. Sit down, Naruto-kun. We need to talk about this later. There are some important things you need to know concerning your bloodline. The tone that the Hokage used to address the blonde curbed the boy's excitement, and nodded before proceeding to sit on a chair but continued to fidget in excitement. Again, the Hokage couldn't help but smile and ruffled the child's hair again for good measure. He looked at the smiling Kaido. So is there anything else we need to know about Kaido? I think that's the gist of it. There might be more changes and abilities popping out soon since he just manifested the change, so it is best to let Naruto-kun come to me with a weekly checkup to make sure everything is alright. I would also suggest for the boy to have a teacher to help him control his abilities since it would be dangerous, especially his strength. Other than that, Naruto-kun is a healthy 8-year-old boy. The Hokage nodded. Good. Thank you for your time, Kaido, and make sure that you keep the result of today's discovery under wraps. From now on, Naruto's bloodline will be an S-rank secret that is only for 3 of us to know unless Naruto or I chose to divulge it otherwise. Understood? Kaido nodded, closed the folder with Naruto's bloodline results, and proceeded to lock it inside his blood-sealed scroll. The Hokage saw this and gave him a nod of approval before grasping Naruto again on the shoulder, and exited the room to his office in the Hokage Tower via Shunshin, leaving a smiling doctor at his wake thinking of this new development regarding his favorite blonde. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the closed door where an excited Naruto left a couple of minutes earlier after having a brief discussion with the boy. After they left the hospital, he and Naruto had a little discussion regarding the importance of secrecy concerning his newly awakened bloodline, and told the boy in no specific terms should he tell anyone about it. He was glad when Naruto nodded in understanding before leaving the aged man to his contemplation of the day's events after promising that he will keep everything secret unless his Hokage told him to. The aged Hokage stood up and walked towards the window facing the Hokage monument, and started to think. With Naruto's new abilities, his current outlook needs to be seriously changed if he wanted to protect the boy. When Naruto left, the Hokage instructed one of his A and B guards to go to Kaido to fetch Naruto's medical records. He perused everything that Kaito wrote, and was aghast as to how much torture and torment his surrogate grandson suffered at the hands of the villagers. If he wants to protect the boy, then he needs to do a lot of house cleaning, and there are quite a lot of pests eradicated if he wanted his plans to be put in motion. First, he needed to recall his 2 wayward students for different reasons. Jiraiya. The Toad Sannin needs to return for further instructions, more specifically, adding Konoha to his information network. Sure, the Toad Sage was able to give him valuable information outside of the leaf. But with Naruto's newly awakened bloodline, he needs inside information as well. He should have thought of this sooner, but his rush-out handling after the 4th died was below standards to what his teachers, the Shodame and Nidame, started in the leaf. This would need to be corrected, and recalling the pervert is the first step for his plan to work. Next is Tsunade. He understood the heartache that Konoha gave the slug Sannin, losing both his little brother and his lover to the wars that Konoha participated in, but what he saw in the hospital sickened him. It seems that the Hippocratic oath that the current hospital workforces are only enforced on those they deemed normal, and does not include those that really needed them, mainly Naruto. It is definitely time to put Tsunade's idea for an overhaul in the running of the hospital to be put in force, and only his students' powerful drive can see to that. The Konoha Council needs to be overhauled as well. For Kami's sake, he ignored it for years now and just left it alone. He knew that the council, specifically the civilian side, wrestled a lot of power from him when the 4th died, and he, in his infinite wisdom, ignored it. He almost banged his head on the table when he realized that almost all the problems he had in the village was all his doing. Maybe banging his head on the table was a good idea as punishment aside from the years of headache he was forced to go through. His major problem, however, lies with his teammate, Danzo. Oh, he knew about the root program that the half-blind shinobi operated underneath his radar despite his orders of disbandment of the organization. He just didn't want to cause more problems, so he just ignored it. He needed to rein in Danzo if he wanted to protect Naruto. He shivered at the possibility of Danzo finding out about Naruto's bloodline. If he found out, Naruto would be abducted, experimented, placed on a hidden breeding program, or worse, turned into a mindless drone under his command. This should not happen. The Sannin Hokage worked into the night, penning letters and starting the plans to wrest the control of the village back in his iron grip and protect his surrogate grandson. This should have been done years ago. He will make sure this is done now or die trying. A lot of civilians and shinobi in Konoha felt a cold shiver down their spines that night. All of them didn't know that the god of shinobi has finally gotten his backbone because of a whiskered blonde boy. Nursing his half-empty sake bottle, Tsunade, the slug Sannin, legendary healer of the leaf, newly minted legendary sucker due to her ability to lose any bets, was suddenly knocked out of her reverie when a sudden poof of smoke materialized beside her, revealing a messenger monkey. Tsunade-sama. I bear a missive from Hiruzen-sama of great importance. The messenger monkey informed her in a monotone voice. Tsunade stared at the messenger in shock. If her teacher sent a message via summons, then this is definitely important. She never received a message via summons after 8 years of being away from the village, and receiving one now brought a cold shiver down her spine. Not trusting her voice, she nodded to the monkey, who passed on a scroll to her before disappearing back into the summon realm. Deciding to read this in the confines of her hotel room, she immediately left after paying the bartender for her drinks. When she got to the hotel room, she saw that her assistant, Shizen, was in the bathroom taking a shower, so she immediately gathered her chakra and went through the seals for a privacy jutsu to make sure that she was uninterrupted with the message. Fishing the scroll out of her trench coat pocket, she saw that it was protected by a blood and chakra seal. This was serious indeed. She broke the seal easily since it was keyed to her signature, then proceeded to read what her sensei wanted. Tsunade. My student, hope this letter finds you well. It has been too long since we have last seen or contacted each other, but certain events have come to light that I require you immediately in my presence here in Konoha. I would have loved to just exchange banter with you here in a letter considering what the leaf took from you, but this is important, and I will not take a no for an answer. I have come to realize that the leaf is no longer what it should be when your grandfather created it a long time ago. I have myself to blame, and it is time to make sure that everything is corrected to avoid further sufferings in the future. Your skills and prowess is needed, my dear student, and it is time for a Senju to return to the village and take a hand in this matter, for only with your power can I put these changes to fruition. The same missive have also been sent to Jiraiya for a different purpose, but both of you are necessary for everything that I have planned for the leaf. You are to rendezvous with him at Otafukugai in 2 days' time, and both of you immediately head back to the leaf ASAP. Your teacher and Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sannin Hokage. Tsunade was flabbergasted as she finished the letter, and could never deny that this is no ordinary missive. Never have her teacher been this serious before, and the tone at which he drafted the letter was more than serious. This was epic. With a glint in her eyes, she burned the letter with a katon jutsu and made ready to leave in the shortest possible time. "Shizen! Get your butt out of that bathroom right now!" hollered Tsunade while sealing their things inside a scroll for easy transport. Shizen got out of the shower in record-breaking time, and saw that her mentor was packing things into a scroll at unbelievable speed. "What's the problem, Tsunade-sama?" Tsunade rounded on Shizen, who was driven back by the intensity in her mentor's eyes. "We are leaving for the Leaf. We are meeting Jiraiya and Hokage in 2 days' time, so get your butt in gear and let's get moving," the slug Sannin said in a voice that brooked no nonsense or arguments. Shizen immediately started to work, not wanting the wrath of her teacher rained down on her just because she wanted to slow down and take her time. She knew that Tsunade vowed never to return to the village, but seeing her wanting to go back ASAP means that something is afoot. Jiraiya was currently giggling as he peeped on the women's section of the hot springs in Hokage. The impromptu make-out session inside the bath brought a nosebleed out of the pervert, as he hurriedly scribbled on his notepad for his newest Ika Paradise book. This is big, very very big, judging from the inspiration he is getting from the impromptu show on the other side of the fence. He was brought out of his perverted giggling when a poof of smoke appeared beside him, revealing a messenger monkey from the Hokage. Realizing that the Sandaime have never used his summons for correspondence, immediately alerted the pervert that this is serious. "Jiraiya-sama. I have a message here for you from Sarutobi-sama. I already delivered the same message to Tsunade-sama before I came to you," said the monkey as he handed the scroll to the toad Sannin, and promptly returned to the summon realm when the white-haired man took it. Recognizing the security seal on the scroll, he pricked his thumb with his teeth to break the skin and applied blood on the seal and channeled a little bit of his chakra to it. The seal disappeared in a poof of smoke, allowing him to open the scroll. He read, "Jiraiya. I require your presence here in Konoha in the shortest possible time. You are to drop your research ASAP and meet with Tsunade and Hokage in 2 days' time. Changes are to be made in the Leaf, and I require both of your presence in the soonest possible time. I know that you are currently peeping, so drop it, and head over to the rendezvous point to meet with Tsunade. I don't care if the next issue of Ika Paradise is delayed. Get your butt here pronto. Your Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sandaime Hokage." Jiraiya's eyebrows rose to his hairline as he read the missive. Never have his mentor told him to drop his research, considering that he is one of his biggest fan. This is serious if his mentor demanded him to stop everything in favor of coming to the Leaf instead of the next installment of his smut. He immediately burned the scroll and exited the hot springs. Gathering chakra and a minuscule amount of natural energy for extra speed, he ran towards Hokage in a speed that would make Madogai look like a toddler. He has a slug princess to meet, and this has nothing to do with her jiggling assets. A loud boom and a small earthquake alerted the gatekeepers of Konoha into action. They were expecting an attack, but what they saw almost made them piss their pants. 2 of the legendary Sannins are back riding on top of the famed Gamabunta, the toad boss. Both jumped off from the head of the summons before it poofed away back into the summon realm. They both impacted the ground in front of the startled guards and left a small crater under their feet. Shizen went unnoticed, considering the important people she was with, which suited her just fine. "Tsunade-sama, Jiraiya-sama. Welcome back to Konoha." One of the Chunin guards stammered his greeting. "It's good to be back. Now if you'll excuse us, we are to see the Hokage immediately," grunted Tsunade in annoyance. And with that, both the toad and slug Sannin left an awed and stammering guard towards the Hokage tower without a "by your leave." Jiraiya and Tsunade entered the Hokage's office and saw their teacher amidst a pile of paperwork with a frown on his face. Hiruzen saw both his students enter the room and decided to go immediately into business. "Close the door and place your strongest privacy seals, Jiraiya," he demanded in a serious, businesslike tone. Startled by the seriousness of his mentor's command, he immediately pulled out his patented privacy seal from his pocket and slapped it on the walls, then going through hand seals to activate it. When he released his chakra, the room immediately glowed a bright blue before dying down, signifying that the privacy barrier is up and running. "Good, now both of you sit down. There are a lot of things that needs to be done, and we don't have enough time to do it," said Sarutobi while beckoning them to sit in front of him. He immediately took out 4 folders from his drawer and passed 2 of them towards his students, 1 each. "Read it. I'll give you the other set when you're done." Jiraiya and Tsunade nodded and opened the folder. Both of them paled at what they were reading. Seeing his students' reaction, he immediately passed them the other set, beckoning them to read it as well. This time, the reaction was of awe, disbelief, and most importantly, shock. So, tell me, were you able to understand the importance of what you are reading? Asked the Sandaime. Both nodded, but it was Jiraiya who voiced out his thoughts first. How did this happen? The Toad Sannin demanded. Which one? The beatings or the bloodline? Asked the Hokage with a grim look on his face. The beatings. What have you been doing, sensei? We both promised Minato that we would look after the kid. He traded his life for the village and only for them to stab him in the back using his son as a punching bag and a torture doll. Shouted Jiraiya in a voice filled with rage. Crack. Both Jiraiya and the Hokage looked at the third occupant of the room, prompted by the sudden sound of wood cracking under pressure. They weren't disappointed. Tsunade was holding on one of the arms of her chair with enough force that it cracked the wood into pulp. Her face betrayed her rage, her eyes on fire and gritting her teeth in fury. Both male in the room saw this before, and the result was not pretty. Still gritting her teeth and holding on to the broken arms of her chair as if it was a lifeline to her sanity. You better have an explanation for this, sensei, or else. The last came out as a growl. She couldn't believe the experience Kushina's son went through at the hand of the village that her grandfather created, the village that Minato died to save. This was unforgivable. Instead of answering, Sarutobi leveled both his students with a glare that instantly destroyed their rage easily. The one in front of them wasn't the mild-mannered shinobi of the leaf that taught them to become the best years ago. No. This was the god of shinobi that was said to be the most powerful shinobi in all the elemental countries. You dare put all the blame on me? Raged Sarutobi. Don't you dare blame this on me. We are all to blame for this. He rounded Jiraiya. You are Minato-sensei. You were there when both he and Kushina were wed. You were there when they announced to us that they were expecting a child. Where were you to look after him? Peeping? Researching? Playing around? He then glared at Tsunade, who flinched at the accusation in his eyes. And you? Don't blame me, since you left the village and vowed never to return. You, who is a medic nin, should know what is needed for a child of your friends. So answer me, both of you. Am I the only one to blame? Raged Sarutobi, flooding the room with his killing intent that almost smothered both of his students to a coma. It took everyone quite a while to calm down. Both Jiraiya and Tsunade were filled with remorse over their actions. What their sensei said was true. They weren't around to look after the boy. They both left without even thinking what could possibly happen to the resident Jinchuriki, since they both knew how the other villages treated the vessels. No, they are to blame as well as their sensei. Sarutobi tried his best to calm down, and when he did, he took a deep breath before addressing both his students. Instead of pointing fingers on who to blame for the boy's maltreatment, what we should be doing right now is to think of a way to rectify the situation. I already drafted a plan for the changes we need to do in order to protect Naruto, and the only way to do this is to change the leaf from the ground up. So are you both with me? Seeing both of them nod, as well as seeing the will of fire burning in their eyes once again, Sarutobi allowed himself to release a satisfied smirk before continuing. Good. I have already made a plan on how to change the problems in the village, but both of you have your own specific tasks to make sure that everything falls into place. Starting today, both of you are unofficially my advisors. I will be replacing both Koharu and Hamura since both of them are part of the problem. I will be informing them of both your positions when I call the council into a meeting. Seeing the mischievous smirks adorning his students' faces, he continued. Now Tsunade, I want you to take charge of the hospital. You will be rebuilding everything from the ground up. I already have your mission parameters for this, so you will know what to do when you get there. I also give you full permission to enact your own plan for a medic nin in each squad and give you liberty to choose your students among the aspiring genins in the academy. Tsunade perked up at this declaration. Her dream of reducing casualties during missions by integrating a medic nin in teams is finally going to come true. It will take years before results will be seen in the field, but if she starts now, then future missions would yield better results and casualties will drop. She rubbed her hand in anticipation. Oh, she is going to love this mission. Her evil smirk didn't go unobserved by the two males in the room, and both shivered at the implication of that smirk. Now Jiraiya. You already have your spy network outside the village, and it is quite understandable that you have to leave to monitor them all. However, I have another plan that I want you to follow. You will set up your network to make sure that all information will be passed to your position here in the village without requiring you to leave. The reason? Simple, you will be creating a thorough spy network here in the Leaf, and I want you to ferret out every single secrets and anomalies here in the village. I want them all here on my desk so we can start persecuting those that needs to be dealt with. Understood? Jiraiya understood the magnitude of the mission. Sure, he would need to cut down on his research time if he needs to set up a spy network here in the Leaf, and the lack of research material that only exists outside the village is beyond his reach at the moment. However, he will sacrifice all this for the sake of Naruto. He has years of paying for the neglect he suffered in the hands of the villagers, and he is so going to start paying for it now with this mission. It's better to be late than never. The aged Hokage saw the compliance in both Jiraiya and Tsunade, so he passed them another set of folders with his plans regarding the mission he assigned to them with free rein to add anything he might have missed. Both accepted the folders with glee written on their faces. Next on the agenda is the entire village itself, mainly the council and Danzo. Here is a draft of my plans, please read it and tell me what you think. He then passed them both some documents regarding his future plans for the leaf. After a few minutes of reading, both Sannins have evil smirk on their faces that sent ghostly shiver down the concerned body's spine. This is going to be a long year for those in the leaf. Time skip, 1 week later. Hiruzen Sarutobi sat behind his desk lounging around thinking about some of the changes that has been made after a week of his students' arrival. Tsunade and Shizen took a day to relax and plan for their pest control project in the Konoha hospital before really rocking the foundation down. The slug Sannin stormed the hospital the next day and reviewed every single report with the help of Shizen. It seems that a lot of issues were swept under the rug, some concerning the funding that should have gone to the development of the hospital but was instead diverted to persons unknown. Most of the reports, however, were about Naruto, and she didn't like what she saw, which resulted in one of the walls on the first floor to disappear due to her temper. It was the only time in Konoha history that the hospital was empty of all personnel, since all of them vacated the premises when the slug Sannin demonstrated her displeasure using her fist. The next day, a lot of hospital personnel were fired on the spot except for a few who remained faithful to the oath they took when they set to work as Medicine. She took the mantle of director with Shizen as her assistant, who will be handling the interviews for the hopefuls. She immediately formed a council of trusted doctors to oversee the various areas on the hospital that should have been done a long time ago. Kaido, Naruto's personal doctor, was given the head position of his pseudo-council of medic-needs that alleviated some of Tsunade's tasks. She also designated separate departments in the hospital for different purposes, like a research and development department for the improvement of Konoha's medical studies and application, an entire department devoted to potion research and antidotes, and so on. She had trouble with the funding at first, but the Sandaime opened up the village coffers for her use since it will soon be refilled after the planned audit. She also started a draft of lessons to be included in the Shinobi Academy to slowly integrate the idea of medic needs for future genins. This would require her and the Hokage to meet with the current director of the academy to properly implement the changes. It was slow work, but it was progress all the same. Jiraiya wasn't also slacking off in terms of setting up his spy network outside the village. He utilized his toad summons as a means to relay messages to him back to Konoha to make sure that he didn't miss anything. Only important messages were required for him to leave the village, but so far none of the reports require him to take such actions, so he remained at the home front to continue his spy network. The secrets he were able to ferret out in the village in only a few days since he started was enough to take his mind off his research. That was how dirty Konoha has become, and the Toad Sage was literally rolling in mud. With only a week of the Leaf Spy Network under Jiraiya's command, some anomalies have been brought to the Hokage, namely Danzo's root program, which was set as a priority by Sarutobi. With an ingenious application of Toad Recon summons in different parts of Konoha, he discovered hidden locations of various root headquarters, their position in the village, various missions outside the village, and Danzo's connection with the civilian council. All of these reports were currently on Sarutobi's desk, which he just finished reading and waiting for Danzo to answer his summons. Danzo was currently walking along the halls of the Hokage Tower towards the Hokage's office where he was summoned. It was early in the morning that one of the Hokage's personal ANBU dropped by in his home and promptly announced that his presence was required ASAP. A cold shiver ran down his spine and a tightening in his gut told him that this meeting would not be pleasant for him. When he reached the door, he immediately straightened and was about to open the door without bothering to knock as a slight to the person on the other side of the door when the Hokage's voice almost made him trip. "Glad of you to answer my summons, Danzo. Please come in." The voice of Sarutobi came from the other side of the door. Danzo sniffed and proceeded to open the door and was about to berate his ex-teammate but stopped when he saw the Hokage's face. The tightening in his gut that he experienced earlier came back in full force upon seeing the expression on Sarutobi. It was the face that he only saw during wartime. It was the face of the professor, the god of shinobi, the Sandaime Hokage of the strongest hidden village in the elemental nations. Sarutobi smirked when he saw the apprehension in Danzo's eyes. "Good. Time for the next phase of the plan. Please sit down, Danzo. We have much to discuss." The aged Hokage almost crooned, which made the old war hawk sweat a bit. Danzo sat down in front of the Hokage and mustered every bit of courage he had in his system and glared at the other person. "What do you want, Sarutobi? Why have you summoned me this early in the morning? This is..." He was interrupted when the sudden flood of killing intent filled the room coming from the Hokage. The cold fury in the aged leader's eyes spoke volumes, and will mean a lot of pain later if he didn't shut up right this minute. He gulped. I think we need to make some facts clear, Danzo-san, since it seems that you need re-educating in terms of village protocol. Let me ask you a question and I want you to answer me? Understood? Good. Now, first question, who is the Hokage of this village? The aged Hokage asked in a deceptively calm voice, penetrating eyes never leaving his prey. Danzo, fortunately, held back a biting retort before answering. You. Good. Then how come you are questioning my orders about summoning you? You live in this village. You have a position in this village. You are a shinobi of this village. So that means that you are under me, Danzo. Now please tell me, are you supposed to question me when I summon you to my office? Asked the Hokage in a deathly calm voice. Quailed by the coldness in the Hokage's question, he swallowed his pride and decided to play it safe. No, Hokage-sama. I apologize for my rudeness. Sarutobi gave Danzo a calm and calculating gaze. Good. It seems that you learned your lesson well, Danzo. Now tell me, how is your root program coming along? He asked in a calm and conversational voice to make sure that his opponent is caught off guard. You already know that the root program was disbanded, Hokage-sama. So why are you asking me this pointless question? Grated Danzo, who was already sweating on the inside and thinking of ways to get out of the situation. Sarutobi didn't give him that option to escape. Oh really? Then these documents I have before me are false? Asked the aged Hokage as he waved at the folder in front of him. He opened the folder and proceeded to read what's in it. Let me see. According to this document, we have a total of 25,000 residents in Konoha, both civilian and shinobi. Is that correct, Danzo? Yes, Hokage-sama. That information can easily be accessed through the Konoha archive and in the shinobi library. Danzo answered promptly, not realizing the trap in such a harmless question of numbers. Good. Very good, Danzo. I know that they are open to the public, but there is more. Let me see, yes, it says here that there are a total of 15,000 civilians in the Leaf plus a total of 7,000 registered shinobis, both retired, in reserve, and in active duty. Now tell me, Danzo, where is the 3,000 that was unaccounted for? Danzo was sweating at this point, since the remaining numbers coincided with the number of shinobis he currently have in his underground root program. He was about to defend himself when the Hokage beat him to it. You know what I think, Danzo-san. I think that these remaining unaccounted numbers are under your program. Deciding to go with the innocent card, Danzo rebuffed the Hokage's claims. I don't know what you mean, Hokage-sama. I have no idea why there are 3,000 unaccounted numbers in Konoha. Sarutobi smirked. Oh, he got him now. Time to add the icing to the cake. He pulled out a piece of paper from the folder and read on for the benefit of his sweating opponent. Is that so, Danzo? So does this mean that the people training under Sector 2, 10, 13, 14, and 42 aren't part of your root program? You mean that there is another organization in the Leaf that I didn't know about that has a seal on their tongue and with the kanji of root on their masks? Are you sure, Danzo? Danzo was sweating now. How in the world did Sarutobi know about his hidden training grounds and bases? This is impossible. They were all well hidden. Paper trail was non-existent and all information regarding his activities was underground. The seal on his root shinobis was foolproof and he was sure that none of them tallied on him. How? He was about to say something, but Sarutobi just raised his hand indicating for him to keep silent, and leveled him a glare that could easily freeze a bijou in its tracks. Listen to me, Danzo. I know all about your root program and how you disregarded my order of disbanding them. I should have you killed for treason and let all your root shinobis tortured for information after the seal is removed from their tongues. He paused to add to Danzo's unease. Oh, which reminds me, I already have the counter seal to it, so they will surely squeal everything when Ibiki and Anko plays with them. Danzo slumped in his chair. Everything is now out in the open and nothing he could say will protect him from his death. He gave the smirking Sarutobi a tired look. What do you want, Sarutobi? Inwardly, the Hokage pumped his mental hands in triumph and proceeded to the next phase of the plan. Don't worry, Danzo. You won't be executed for treason. Oh no. I still have use for you, old friend. He said in a sickly sweet voice that promised a lot of pain if he refused. Seeing no disagreement from Danzo, Sarutobi continued. I want you to officially reactivate the root program. Danzo's face perked up when he heard this but slumped down again when he heard the next part. Under my command. Starting today, I will take control of your root with you as its director. It will be a shadow branch of Konoha military that will operate under guise. You will submit to me every single document, secrets, and plots you have under your program, which I will peruse at a later time. Let me remind you, Danzo, that I know all of your moves, and one wrong move means a day of torture at the hands of my trusted interrogators. Understood? Seeing Danzo nod. What else could he do but agree? Good. You may leave. I expect everything here on my desk in 2 days. It should be enough time for you to relay the new order of things to my new subordinates. Do this or else. He added the last part with a burst of pure killer intent that made Danzo sweat. With that, he dismissed a defeated Danzo while proceeding with the next phase of his plan. Taking a breather from her thorough rehabilitation of the hospital, Tsunade took a small gulp of the fiery drink while reading through the medical files of one Uzumaki Naruto just to make sure that she got all the facts right. The initial test done by Kaido regarding the child's potential was good, but not good enough by her standards. Sure, he got the basics done in terms of physical and mental tests, but the finer points were left alone either because he didn't know how to proceed with such discovery, or he was afraid that taking a deeper plunge into the child's body would result in a negative reaction. Tsunade scoffed as the thoughts appeared on her mind. Kaido might be afraid to dig deeper, but not her. No, she was the legendary medic of Konoha, and she knew quite a lot of methods to loosening the secrets in one's body that other doctors in the elemental nations could only dream of. She was brought out of her musings by a knock on her door. Come in. The door opened to reveal one Dr. Kaido, Naruto's personal medic Nin as assigned by the Hokage. Not the best of the best, but due to the mindset of the previous workforce, he was the only one her teacher could get to take care of the boy. Tsunade-sama. You have summoned me? Said Kaido with a bow of respect. Yes, Kaido-san. Please sit. We have much to discuss. I hope that your new position in the hospital wasn't too troublesome for you. Inquired Tsunade as she beckoned for the good doctor to take a seat in front of her desk. Kaido brightened immediately upon hearing his new position. No, Tsunade-sama. The position was a godsend. Being able to take a hand in the changes necessary for the hospital is a dream come true for me. So no. I love my new position and love the changes you plan for the future of Konoha Medical. Tsunade nodded. Her respect for the man rose up a peg or two for that comment. However, now is not the time for platitudes and useless compliments. It's time to discuss the recent discovery in medical history. Good. Now I summoned you here regarding one of your patients. One Uzumaki Naruto. I dare say, seeing the results firsthand were quite an experience. Tsunade queried. Of course, Tsunade-sama. That boy is a goldmine of medical information. The way his body was improved and enhanced on a genetic level would greatly affect the world's medical history if such study is undergone. But doing so right now at this pace would endanger the boy. Besides, it is still too early to enact such a study since the boy's bloodline is clearly in the developing stages. Explained Kaido with excitement. You're correct. The brat is displaying a medical miracle if truth be told, but that is not the reason why I called you here. She placed a paper in front of the good doctor, one of the detailed notes that he compiled after the checkup. You theorized that Naruto is evolving to that of a wolf as stated in the DNA readouts you managed to extract from your diagnostics. I want to hear your theory since I haven't had time to check the boy myself. Kaido released a disappointed grunt and paused for a bit, gathering his thoughts. It is not as if the boy will be changing into a wolf, Tsunade-sama. But my theory is more pronounced when it comes to the boy's changes. From the looks of it, the DNA strand that I got yielded 2 results instead of the usual one. Tsunade looked at the doctor as if he just sprouted another head. 2 strands? Don't be ridiculous, Kaido. It is impossible for a single human to have 2 strands of DNA. Kaido shook his head. If you read my notes, Tsunade-sama, there are 2 strands of DNA on Naruto's biology. However, these 2 are separate, and it seems to be connected by some form of thread. From what I surmise, the wolf DNA requires activation, but the stimulus for such activation remains unknown. Now Tsunade was intrigued of the concept. A change that requires activation? Now that is something to look forward to. Your theory seems plausible, and its working is similar to that of many bloodlines we know of that requires a physical change. Could it be a mental trigger since chakra doesn't seem to initiate the change? I doubt it, Tsunade-sama. But I would surmise that it is both emotional and mental for such a change to occur. If I am correct, a mental stimulus is necessary to jumpstart his emotional trigger, thus activating the semi-dormant gene. Without further tests, we can never finalize the theory. Kaido mused. We also need to dig deeper into this gene so we can determine its exact ability, or changes on the boy if there is one. I would also suggest we look into his genealogy since it is quite possible that his parents might also have similar strain. Are you familiar with his family, Tsunade-sama? Tsunade nodded. Yes, I am very much familiar with his parents. They come to me for their checkups and healing, so I can safely say that both of them didn't show any bloodline to what their child is currently undergoing. A thoughtful frown marred Kaido's face. If that is the case, then the gene to trigger the activated of the bloodline might be dormant in their case. A distant ancestor might yield more positive results, but it would be safe to say that it is impossible right now since Naruto-kun is the last of his family. It would be safe to treat this as a new bloodline and document it from there for future use. Tsunade became quiet after the revelation. The good doctor's theories were sound, or if possible, accurate to a point. However, they would all remain as such if they don't have enough facts to prove such a point, and requires a thorough test to acquire them. The legendary medic already reviewed the record she had of Naruto's parents, and it would be safe to say that both didn't display the bloodline that Naruto is showing right now. Among the two, only Naruto's mother has an active bloodline. It was too bad that she didn't subject both to a gene test to check since it wasn't required at that time, and there was no need to do so. Deciding to set this matter aside for now, she will wait for Naruto's visit to the hospital since there are still plenty of things for her to do, and going into this project will surely take a lot of her time in both studies and experimentation. I suggest we drop this project for now, Kaido. According to the notes you made on your findings, you are planning to let Naruto undergo more thorough tests when he comes over next month for a checkup. Is that correct? Kaido nodded in affirmative. Please inform me before proceeding so I can conduct my own tests, as well to collaborate the results. It is quite possible that both of us to discover something new that the both of us alone could have missed. Understood? Commanded Tsunade in a voice that brooked no opposition. Crystal Tsunade-sama. Agreed Kaido with a bow. Working on this new discovery was a dream come true for him, and he didn't plan to do anything that might compromise his position in this project. Tsunade nodded and beckoned for him to leave her while sealing Naruto's medical files back into her private scroll before tackling another document regarding the hospital's running. But not before taking a long swig from her trusty sake bottle. Hiruzen Sarutobi was currently sitting behind his desk, deep in thought, finalizing everything that needs to be done in today's council meeting that will shake the leaf to its foundation. This has been coming for quite a while now, but the information that he received from Jiraiya's spy network will make it easier for him to enact the change necessary to improve the leaf and protect his surrogate grandson. He was brought out of his musings when Tsunade and Jiraiya entered the office, both sporting faces of anticipation on what is about to happen in the meeting later. Thank you for coming, Jiraiya, Tsunade. I have called a council meeting in an hour for both civilian and shinobi councils. It is finally time for us to enact the plan we have discussed. Jiraiya grinned. I guess the information I passed on to you from my spy network pushed to change the schedule ahead of time then? The aged Hokage smiled. Yes, Jiraiya. Your spy network yielded the results I need. Their actions have already been brought to my attention before, but the lack of evidence delayed any form of action. He looked then at Tsunade, who was slouching on the couch with a sake bottle in hand. His sweat dropped at the sight but ignored the alcoholic beverage for now. How about you, Tsunade? Any problems on your front? Tsunade grunted and took another swallow of the fiery drink before addressing her sensei. Problem? The hospital is like a ticking time bomb ready to blow up. You have perfect timing in calling me back and starting the change, or else we would be totally screwed. Sarutobi's face turned grim. This he need to know. Explained Tsunade, and don't leave anything out. The slug Sannin took another drink. When I took over, the hospital isn't even running at 10% efficiency. Most of the doctors and nurses were not qualified to even practice, and how the head doctor hired them I have no clue. All reports indicate that treatments were done in a form of basic first aid. We were just lucky that no serious injuries were brought in, or we would be suffering from lack of shinobis. They are woefully inept. I fired all of them and tasked Shizen in screening everything on the applicants. And don't get me started on the funding. The allocations were diverted to imaginary people for developments that we don't even see. No paper trails. Millions of Ryo disappeared overnight for Kami knows where. She spat out the last part, and took another long swig from her bottle. Jiraiya snorted. So what else is new? Everything I uncovered in the leaf is either money transactions or secrets passed to other villages. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them come knocking on our front step due to the amount of information being released without our knowing. This time, rage lined the old face of the Hokage and killer intent is slowly leaking out from him. What? What information were you able to dig up, Jiraiya? Jiraiya snorted and pulled out his ever-present research notepad, but instead of the usual smut, this one is filled to the brim with village information he managed to get from his budding spy network. Let me see clan information including their abilities, numbers, and experience, current heirs of clans, names and physical description, shinobi assignments, and mission accomplishments, patrol information just to name a few. Sarutobi took in a calming breath and massaged his aching temples. It was worse than he thought it would be. If this information gets out to the wrong hands, especially his traitorous student, then the village wouldn't remain standing in a few years. This has got to stop now. Dog. Upon his prompting, a silver-haired, dog-masked ANBU appeared before the Hokage, kneeling. Yes, Hokage-sama? Are the squads in position and ready to enact the plan upon prompting? Yes, Hokage-sama. Squads 3, 6, and 8 are all in position in the council chambers waiting for your orders. All of them are briefed on their respective targets and await your signal. The dog-masked ANBU answered. Good. Then proceed as planned. Are the civilian and shinobi council all present and accounted for? Yes, Hokage-sama. All of them have just arrived and are waiting for you to start the meeting. The Hokage nodded. You are dismissed. With that, the ANBU stood from his position and melted back into the shadows without so much as a sound. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood up from his desk and beckoned for his students to follow, putting on their game faces to avoid betraying their intentions. Heads will roll today, and it wasn't theirs. The Konoha Council was divided into two factions, the Shinobi Council and the Civilian Council, both working in tandem for the betterment of the village. The Shinobi Council is made up of the Konoha clan heads, as well as the two advisors of the Hokage, Koharu and Hamura, ex-teammates of the Sandaime Hokage. The main clans include the Hyuga, Aburame, Akimichi, Nara, Uchiha, Yamanaka, and Inuzuka. Minor clan heads were also present, but their numbers did not merit them any major position. The Uchiha representative was Danzo Shimura, since Uchiha Sasuke is still underage, and the eldest, Uchiha Itachi, is a missing mean with a bounty on his head. The Civilian Council is made up of the wealthy merchants in Konoha, who mostly resided in the merchant district of the village. These individuals are considered as the wealthiest in their respective position, thus their position in the chamber. The Hokage, as well as the Toad and Slug Sannin, entered the chamber that resulted in the sudden silence of the gossiping crowd. All of them were called into this chamber an hour ago, and they have no idea what the aged leader wants to discuss. Sarutobi took his seat in front of the council, flanked by Tsunade and Jiraiya, acting as bodyguards, faces grim, which practically intimidated everyone in the room. Questions erupted from the Civilian Council, demanding why they were called so suddenly without prior notice. The Hokage let them stew it out a bit for a few seconds before flooding the room with a powerful killer intent that silenced everyone immediately. The Civilian Council, who had no shinobi training, was running short of breath from the intense aura that covered the council chamber, while the Shinobi Council just gripped the tables and sweated a little. Thank you for keeping the peace inside these hallowed halls. The Hokage snarled, sarcasm dripping from his words. Now if all of you are done gossiping like fishmongers' wives, let's get down to business. One of the civilians, a fat man with a pompous air, decided to call the attention of the meeting. What is the reason you called us here, Hokage-sama? Sarutobi spared the man a glance. Let me see Himura-san. Who are you to tell me why I have summoned you? The councilman bristled. We are the Civilian Council. It is only right. He was cut off from further dribbles when a sword was pressed on his throat from an ANBU who materialized upon his disrespect of the Hokage. Himura-san. I am the Hokage. This is MY Village. You are just a councilman, so who are you to tell me what to do in MY Village? Are you going to shut up, or should I let my ANBU slice your throat to make sure you stay quiet throughout the proceedings? The aged Hokage explained in a condescending tone. The sweating and petrified councilman simply nodded, and he immediately slumped back on his seat when the sword was removed. The ANBU simply melted back into the shadows awaiting orders. Good. Now that Himura-san here decided to close his mouth, we can proceed. The first order of business is the abolishment of the Civilian Council, since they are not needed in this village and is a complete waste of time. Chaos erupted from the Civilian Council while the Shinobi Council just leaned back on their respective chairs waiting for shit to hit the fan, so to speak. Silence! The Hokage bellowed in a chakra-amplified voice, shaking the room with its volume, as well as adding a dash of killer intent to drive his point home. The effect was immediate. The silence that followed was deafening. One councilwoman dared to break the silence, and spoke in a sweet tone that failed to hide her anger. Hokage-sama. The Civilian Council has always been a part of Konoha and will always be so. Is that so, councilwoman? According to the laws passed by the Shodaime and Nidaime Hokage, the Civilian Council was supposed to be an advisory position, and you are here insinuating that you are, as well as the rest of your counterparts, in charge of the village and should dictate what I should be doing? I think not, councilwoman, so please sit down and shut up, or you will be taking a quick trip to Ibiki and Anko to loosen your tongue, declared the Hokage in a calm, collected, cold tone that sent shivers down everyone's spine. Seeing that everyone was cowed by his interpretation of the law, he continued. Now all of you should probably be thinking why I abolished the civilian council, correct? Seeing a majority of the people nod, he continued. The reason is simple. I have implicating evidence that a majority of the civilian council have been doing something behind my back that merits to treason and its subsequent punishment. So ANBUs materialized behind their respective quarries. Take them to Anko and Ibiki and inform my 2 chief interrogators to take care of them without any restrictions. Yes, Hokage-sama. The ANBU accepted the command as one and shunted out of the council room with their respective captives. Now that the garbage is out of the way, the remaining civilian council shall leave this chamber. What we are about to discuss is not a part of your jurisdiction. All of you will be summoned at a later date to finalize whatever decisions I have with the civilian advisors. Dismissed. The remaining ANBU ushered the remaining civilians out of the room before Jiraiya activated his privacy jutsu to make sure that eavesdroppers are not included in the discussion. Tsum, the Inuzuka clan head, stood up from his chair and clapped her hands in approval. This was shortly followed by the rest of the shinobi council to the stunned amazement of the Hokage. What merits this action, Tsum? Asked the aged Hokage. The Inuzuka clan head gave her leader a fanged grin before replying. Nothing much, Hokage-sama. It seems that the famed professor and god of shinobi have returned to his rightful position and have wrested his control back of the leaf. The Hokage nodded and gestured for everyone to silence. Now that everything is out of the way, we are going to be discussing some important changes in the village due to information that come to light with the help of Jiraiya's spy network. Every shinobi council member nodded their heads and waited for the Hokage to tell them what's on his mind. For starters, Koharu and Hamura, your position is no longer yours. I have assigned Jiraiya and Tsunade both as my advisors from now on. You two, however, will be delegated to the Shinobi Academy to enact the changes I want to implement on our future shinobis. Koharu spoke first, with slight venom in her voice. Beg your pardon, Hokage-sama, but we have always been your advisors since you and the fourth took the position. Our knowledge and experience cannot be replaced by both Jiraiya and Tsunade. They are still both young. The aged Hokage smiled. Indeed. But both Tsunade and Jiraiya have experiences that you have lacking. They have experienced the world Koharu, but you have stayed in the leaf and only in the leaf without any knowledge or information on the outside world. This makes you inadequate in terms of advisors. Both of you have knowledge of history, even I can attest to that, so your position in the Shinobi Academy would be a great boon to the future hopefuls. Hope that is enough explanation to pacify your need for a reason? Both Koharu and Hamura were stunned at the reason of their dismissal. They could never deny the fact that everything spoken was the truth. In fact, Sarutobi was right regarding their experience of the outside world. They just nodded their agreement of their new stations and waited for the Hokage to continue. Next we need to discuss is the possibility that some villages might take a sudden interest in Konoha. The Hokage stated grimly. This topic made all the clan heads frown. The Nara clan head, lead strategist of Konoha, took an interest with this information. What do you mean, Hokage-sama? Instead of the Hokage, Jiraiya addressed the question. I have established a spy network here in the village, and I have uncovered some documents wherein the village secrets are being sold to the outside without us knowing about it. Hayashi Hyuga became tense. The failed abduction of his daughter, as well as the demise of his twin brother because of it, was a sore subject despite years of getting over the loss. What kind of information, Jiraiya-sama? He asked tersely. The secrets involved mainly on clan-based information, their numbers and abilities, the village's shinobi forces, mission accomplishment and failures, clan and village patrol info, and more. Those are just the tip of the iceberg. This means that the village has been compromised by the civilian council itself. The chaos and outrage that ensued from the mouths of the clan heads echoed within the hallowed halls, and it was only the Hokage's killer intent that shut them all up. Instead of running around like headless chickens, I am going to be assigning you important orders to counter this problem. I have already taken the first step using Jiraiya's information by taking out the key figures in the council. They are being interrogated by Anko and Ibiki now as we speak, and the secrets they are holding will be on my table hopefully by the end of the week. The Hokage addressed the Nara clan head. Shibi, I want you to come up with a new strategy for the village in case of a sudden invasion. Don't leave a stone unturned. Use any resources we have to boost whatever you need in terms of patrol duty and Konoha's defense. I want Konoha to be on lockdown without the civilian knowing about it. Be discreet. Utilize the Inuzuka, Hyuga, and Aburame shinobis. Use their abilities to set up a defense parameter around Konoha. If someone so much as sneezes outside the walls, I want to know about it. Clear? Nara nodded. Understood. I will draft a strategy immediately after this meeting and will run it by you tomorrow for approval. His keen mind for strategy already working, utilizing clan information and abilities, inserting them into his strategies and forecasts for the defense of the village. Good. Koharu and Hamira. I want you to overhaul the academy. Make sure that the instructors are capable in their respective field. I want to make sure that all the teachings are of equal stature. Train our aspiring genins to be the best. The two ex-advisors nodded. They sat up straight, realizing the importance of their new position regarding the future of Konoha. Danzo, root program will be reactivated immediately under my command. Your forces will be deployed along with Naro's strategy. You are also tasked to deploy your most talented stealth specialists to other villages to scout if there are any active plots against us. If they have, I want to know about it. Also, I will be allowing you to pick sensitive missions that your root shinobi is capable of. Danzo sat straight. Now the Hokage was talking. He was expecting his root to be on standby, but by putting them on the field, then they will be of big use. Of course, Hokage-sama. I will have the assignments ready for you this afternoon. Danzo replied with a little bit of excitement in his voice. The other clan heads noticed it and looked at the grinning war hawk with trepidation. A smiling Danzo was a crazy Danzo. The Hokage nodded, seeing that he has completely cowed the old war hawk under his banner. He then looked at Hayashi. Hayashi, I want you to assign a dozen of your branch family members to be taught by Tsunade. Their Byakugan will be invaluable to the hospital, considering that there aren't many capable enough to take care of our wounded. I hope this is under your jurisdiction, asked the Hokage, knowing the internal conflicts with the Hyuga elders and currently have no info on their elders, so he decided to go through Hayashi instead of demanding their services outright. Understood, Hokage-sama. Leave the preparations and selections to me, complied Hayashi, already plotting on how to undermine the current hold of the elders to make sure the Hokage's orders are followed. Chusa, I want you to double train your clan, since they will become the primary defenders in case our defenses are breached. Your bloodline will allow you to protect the walls, as well as any large attackers in the village, stated the Hokage towards the Akimichi clan head, who nodded in reply. I think that is everything for now. I will be calling the council again in a few months to finalize the plans we have. I expect news of deployment of your orders in the soonest possible time. If you have any questions or additions that is not tackled in this session, then feel free to visit me in my office. Dismissed. With that last statement, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage, have wrested control of Konoha back to his fist, and will be tied to anyone who disagree with him. When Naruto left the Hokage's office, the first thing that came to mind is to first find something to eat. Pulling out his wallet, he saw that he only have a few hundred ryo left from this week's allowance, and it has only been 4 days since he got it. It should last him for a week, and now he is down to his last meal. He opted to take a slow walk towards Ichiraku while pondering on a solution for his money problem. The first idea that came to him is to utilize his new abilities to hunt, but he encountered a snag when the thought came to mind. He doesn't know how or even where to hunt in the first place. The only viable solution that he could work with is to find a job. A frown appeared on his face as he thought about it. Finding a job in Konoha would prove to be impossible due to the villagers' treatment of him. He needed help, and he knew the perfect person to help him out. With the idea set in mind, he ran all the way to Ichiraku Ramen to empty the last bit of his allowance for a hearty meal. It was almost evening when Naruto left Ichiraku and made his way to the academy to talk to the only person he knew who could help him. He made good time since he took advantage of his insane speed to get there in the shortest possible time. He made his way into the academy compound and saw the lights inside his classroom still open. He reached the door to his classroom and knocked. Come in. A voice inside the classroom answered. Naruto quickly entered the room and saw his academy teacher grading test papers. Good evening, Irika-sensei. Are you busy? It was a bit stupid to ask considering Irika was grading papers, but it was the best he could come up with. Irika saw Naruto standing awkwardly by the door, which brought a frown to his face. This is the first time that Naruto visited him here in the academy at this time of night. Heck, this is the first time he knocked and being polite. Something's up. Deciding to humor his favorite, yet noisy student, he decided to break the ice. Not really, Naruto. What brings you here at this time? You didn't come to class for 3 days and I was worried? Asked Irika, his voice laced with concern for the young blonde. He didn't say it out loud, but he definitely noted the changes in Naruto's physique, but he decided to let Naruto tell him about it instead of pushing him for answers. Naruto was thinking fast on what to do. He can't tell Irika about his bloodline, but he didn't have any legitimate excuse why he was absent today, and he really needed help with his new condition. So he decided to break his promise with the old man just this once since he had no options left. Irika-sensei, about that. Something happened to me this morning that I need your help about. I didn't attend your classes because I was sick, and what you see right now is the result, said a nervous Naruto. Alarm bells started ringing inside Irika's mind. Naruto was being nervous and respectful. Something was definitely wrong with his favorite blonde. Beckoning Naruto to be silent, he stood up from his chair and walked towards the door and locked it. He then proceeded to close every window in the classroom to ensure that they have the utmost privacy for their conversation. He beckoned Naruto to sit on one of the chairs in the classroom and sat on the one beside it. Okay, what is this all about, Naruto? You didn't get in trouble or anything, did you? Irika asked patiently to help alleviate the boy's nervousness. Deciding to take the plunge, Naruto told Irika everything, starting from the fever down to the result of the doctor's checkup. At first, Irika was confused when Naruto talked about his fever and the changes on his body when he woke up. His jaw dropped when Naruto mentioned his food consumption at Ichiraku and vowed to keep an eye out when the blonde tries to trick him for a free meal to preserve his limited paycheck. His face showed awe when Naruto mentioned his experimentation in the forest and flabbergasted about the results of the doctor's checkup. His number one hyperactive, unpredictable student has done it again. A bloodline, and a powerful one at that if properly trained. Naruto finished his tale and told him about his problems in terms of food and money. Because of everything that happened, I need to either learn how to hunt in the forest to feed myself or find a job so I have enough money to buy food. I don't know anyone else to help me and you've been always there for me, so I decided to ask you for help. Finished Naruto with hands on his lap, his head bowed down, and desperation in his voice. Irika was surprised at how the prideful Naruto was being respectful and pliant. It seems that he is really in trouble judging from the seriousness of the child's voice. He decided to get something out of the way first before doing something to help the kid with his problems. Naruto, why didn't you ask Hokage-sama for help? From what I know, he has always been there to help you and he has the resources to help you with your problems. Asked Irika while scratching his chin. I thought of that too, but he already did so much for me and I don't want to be a burden anymore. Whispered Naruto, but Irika heard it clearly. Irika smiled and nodded. For once, Naruto wasn't being selfish. Okay. So let me make this clear. Your problem is mainly money because so you would need a lot of it just to feed yourself, correct? Naruto nodded. I have an idea to help you out, but this will take a lot of effort on your part, so do you still want to do it? Naruto nodded his head vigorously. That made Irika chuckle. Despite the changes in Naruto, he will always be his hyperactive knucklehead student. Okay, Naruto. Here is what we are going to do. It's been 2 weeks since Naruto's talk with Irika and his sensei didn't disappoint. The next day, since class was out for the weekend, Irika took Naruto out to meet a friend of his down in the merchant district. When they got there, Naruto was introduced to Saji, owner of a weapon shop and blacksmith who is said to be one of the best weapon makers on this side of the elemental country. Irika explained the problem to Saji regarding Naruto's financial problem without having to elaborate his bloodline, which Naruto was silently thankful of. After a brief interview to find out the boy's willingness to do hard work for good pay, Saji was convinced of the boy's determination and got him started to work immediately by showing him around the shop and what's expected of him. Irika left happy knowing that Naruto was in good hands and he was confident that Naruto will deliver his promise to work hard. It is his shinobi way after all. Naruto was quite happy with his time in Saji's shop. It was a tight schedule since he needed to attend the academy during mornings then work in the afternoon, but he was able to squeeze it in thanks to his newfound stamina and endurance. Saji got him started out as a delivery boy, but he eventually upgraded the boy as his assistant in the smithy when he discovered the boy's strength. It's not every day you see an 8-year-old boy carrying 3 big boxes of kunais with ease. He was even skipping as the boy was carrying the heavy boxes to the next room. Sweat dropping at the sight, Saji immediately told Naruto to help him out in the smithy doing some of the laborious work since he was getting on in age. Since then, he became Saji's unofficial apprentice in the forge, teaching him the basics of weapon creation, like taking care of the metal, how to melt them properly and get rid of the impurities, forming metals using molds, sharpening, and polishing the finished product. He wasn't allowed to do any complicated work, like swords and blades. However, he was entrusted for small projects and orders, like kunais, shurikens, and senbons. Naruto didn't know that working for a living was fun and educational. Also, Saji was quite happy to find a determined worker in Naruto, so he was more than happy to compensate the kid with a few bonuses here and there for a job well done. Well, he wasn't losing any money since he was able to take care of all the orders due to the boy's hard work, so the extra money he gave to Naruto was well worth it. Naruto, on the other hand, was quite happy with his newfound career. Working with Saji made sure that he has enough money for food and clothes. He was even making his own equipment for free using the extra materials lying around the shop, so he no longer need to use the spare, low-quality weapons offered by the academy. Despite the drawback of cutting back on his training due to his afternoon shift at Saji's, Naruto noticed that his body was getting a lot of workout with all the hard work he was tasked with. For starters, his speed was sorely tested and improved when his boss asked him to make deliveries in various parts of the village within a specific time frame, and running at full speed lugging around heavy orders was definitely doing wonders on his stamina and leg strength. He also improved his upper body working with metal and laboriously hauling weapons here and there due to his boss' bullheadedness that he is old and should not be carrying heavy loads, so he always kept Naruto near him in case he needs something brought over. Naruto scoffed at that. Saji also promised him that he will teach Naruto to make more complicated weapons and equipment once he ages a bit. He was just too young to get started on complicated weaponry that requires an eye for details. He did, however, let Naruto read through some of the scrolls on weapons in his workshop to prepare the boy for the future. With promise made, Naruto was looking forward to this lesson since he dreamt of making his own cool weapons in the future when he graduates from the academy. Despite Naruto's busy schedule, he also made sure to visit the Hokage during his spare time. The old man was more than happy to accommodate the boy for conversation and some ninja stories or advice. When Naruto confessed to the old man about telling Iruka and asking for help in finding a job, the old man was happy that Iruka helped the poor boy and was even surprised that the enigmatic Saji decided to teach Naruto the craft. He questioned Naruto heavily about his job with Saji, what the shop owner was teaching him, and his pay. In the end, the Hokage was pleased and gave him his blessings and a note to always come to him if he needs any help in the future. He was more than happy to help the boy out after all the blonde have to go through in his life. Naruto gave him a hug that left the Hokage out of breath for a few seconds due to the boy's freakish strength. Naruto didn't know it, but the Hokage was proud of the boy for taking matters into his own hand despite the fact that the old man was more than happy to give him money for his needs. Well, he would if the old man bothered to tell him that his allowance was from his parents' personal fund. He still has his weekly allowance though on top of his wage, so the boy has a small fortune to get by if he really needed to splurge, which the old man doubted. Time skip, 1 year since Bloodline discovery. Naruto woke up from the blare of his alarm clock, which he proceeded to silence by smashing it beyond repair with a well-placed slap. Groaning due to the glare of the morning sun, Naruto got up from his comfortable bed and moved to the bathroom to get started on his morning ritual and go to the academy. It's been a year since his bloodline activated, and it was a fruitful and happy year for Naruto. His lifestyle changed a full circle due to his emerging bloodline. He didn't realize it yet, but because of his body's needs, he was forced to work that resulted in his current body. For an almost 10-year-old boy, Naruto was quite powerful for his age, though he tended to downplay his strengths since the Hokage asked him to keep quiet about it. He was now 5 feet 5 inches in height, making him the tallest in his age group. His body was well muscled due to his sweaty grunt work in Saji's shop, which he chose to hide wearing loose clothing since he wanted to avoid being hounded by annoying fangirls like the Uchiha. He shuddered at the thought of getting his own. He also let his hair grow out so it was already just below his neck and made his hair more messy, but he loved it that way. The previous year has also been a big discovery for Naruto, especially when Kaido brought him to meet Tsunade to test him for any other changes in his bloodline. It seems that his body is still evolving and improving due to his bloodline activation. Tsunade concluded that Naruto will stop changing when he reaches puberty, around 16 or 18. Another revelation is the second DNA strand that was found in Naruto's body. In-depth studies show that there was another part of Naruto's bloodline that requires activation, the ability to change his body into a wolf and vice versa. Naruto was quite excited when he heard this and was literally bouncing around. However, his excitement was blunted when Tsunade and Kaido told him that they didn't know what the trigger was. They both theorized that it would just manifest itself through sudden change in behavior, so Naruto was asked to continue monitoring his emotions if such changes would occur. Naruto finished his shower and proceeded to don his everyday clothes consisting of a black loose shirt, dark brown cargo pants, and black heavy boots. He preferred sandals, but Saji told him that boots are more practical due to his work carrying heavy objects around. A simple sandal would simply give way after a month of heavy use. He proceeded to prepare his usual breakfast of half a dozen eggs, a loaf of bread, and some fruits. His appetite no longer worried him since he has plenty of money to spare because of his work at Saji's. The old man was quite free with his bonuses, and until now he didn't know why he was given plenty of it. Good for him though, so he didn't complain. Cleaning up his breakfast, he proceeded to dash towards the academy at a sedate run, no need to bring out his insane speed, since he still has plenty of time left. On the way, he met a jogging Lee who was also making his way to the academy. Sprinting up a bit to catch up to the bull-cut-haired boy, he greeted him. "How you doing, Lee?" greeted Naruto, not the least bit winded after the sprint. "Good morning, Naruto-kun. A youthful day to you, my friend," Are you by chance going to the academy? Asked Lee in his usual loud youthful voice. Naruto has already gotten used to Lee's quirks when he met the lad a few months back. He was fun though if you decide to ignore the youth that usually comes with his speeches. Yep. Naruto quipped but eventually gave Lee a determined look along with a wolfish grin. The usual? The challenge in his voice was quite evident. Lee grinned at the contest that is about to happen. Ready. 1, 2, 3, go. Both ran at their top speeds, leaving a huge cloud of dust in their wake to the surprise of some villagers who was in their way. It didn't take them long to reach the academy with their insane speed, which Naruto won this time around. Both of them stopped and took in a huge gulp of air. That was quite a youthful run, Naruto-kun. You have beaten me this time around, but I shall win tomorrow, declared Lee with fires burning in his eyes despite the sweat running down his face due to the effort he put into the contest. Naruto chuckled at his friend's behavior. These daily challenges were welcome for him since it did present a way to test his capabilities without anyone knowing about it. What's the current count? He asked while wiping the sweat off his face with the back of his hand. 221 to 220 in your favor, answered Lee enthusiastically, already walking towards his classroom. Naruto nodded and made his way towards his classroom after bidding his friend a farewell. He arrived and found that he was the first one there. He checked the clock in the corner and saw that he was 30 minutes early. Cursing for being too early, Naruto walked to his seat at the back of the class and proceeded to take a short nap to wait for the class to start. Naruto was woken up later when he heard Iruka calling the class to attention. He opened his eyes and rubbed it a bit to get rid of bleariness. After the class rosters have been called, Iruka addressed the class. Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to do a little bit of review on the different ninja disciplines. This will be a practical exam which will include shuriken/kunai throwing, a taijutsu spar, and finally, breaking down the cloning technique before giving it a try yourself, explained Iruka, which got a groan from everyone else. The class started with Iruka's droning voice giving them all a review on weapon throwing and finer points of the academy taijutsu style. According to Iruka, the academy style is considered as a basic style that will allow them to branch off easily to other styles. The style includes basic knowledge and muscle memory in throwing punches, kicks, landing when thrown, and basic evasion maneuvers. He already knew about it, no thanks to the taijutsu instructors that took care of the subject. Naruto already knew from previous months that the instructors in the academy, except for Iruka, are disrupting his education. During one taijutsu class, he noticed that his instructions were way different from his classmates. He also felt clumsy from the style taught to him since it seems to put him off balance instead of correcting them. He questioned Saji about it when he got to work that afternoon, and the old man asked him to show him what he was taught. Saji was livid and proceeded to correct the boy and even expanded on the subject. He found out then that Saji was a retired chunin who quit due to an injury and proceeded to follow the family business of working with metals. After the lecture on taijutsu, Iruka proceeded to teach them the basics of clones. Naruto was interested at this point since this was the first ever jutsu that the academy would teach them due to their age, since the chakra requirement for the technique was too small to even have a side effect on their developing chakra coils. Iruka explained that the basic clone is creating an exact illusionary copy of yourself and pre-program it with moves for it to perform. He introduced the seals and told the class to practice for 10 minutes without using chakra. Naruto tried it out and was proficient with it when their sensei called a halt and asked them to go out for weapon throwing and a class spar. Iruka called the class to order when they reached the training ground where dummies are lined up for weapons throwing. Since he would be second to the last to be called, he proceeded to lean on a lone tree and observed his classmates. Thanks to Saji, he was given lessons on the various clans in Konoha. He didn't know if he was lucky or not, but being told to maintain a grade twice since 2 years back made it possible for him to be in his age group despite the fact that he started the academy early when he bullied the Hokage for him to do so. He chuckled at the memory before proceeding to observe the class. The first one to be called was Aburain Shino, who belonged to a clan who controls bugs incorporated as part of their techniques. His weapon throwing skills was average at best since he got 7 out of 10 in kunai and 6 out of 10 in shuriken. He was followed by Akimichi Chuji. The sole heir of the Akimichi clan was known to utilize jutsu that expands their body size to gigantic proportions, making them great frontline fighters. Choji scored 5 out of 10 and 4 out of 10 respectively before going back to the bench and pulled out a bag of chips and started munching, not caring that he got low scores. Haruno Sakura, her one-time crush, is a first-generation aspiring kunoichi in her family, which was mostly comprised of merchants. Her parents were wealthy merchants and controls large businesses in the village. He used to have a crush on her but lost interest when she started to develop a fanatical obsession to the sole Uchiha survivor. She scored 6 out of 10 on both weapons, pretty average but good enough for a civilian. Hyuga Hinata was called next to showcase her skills. Despite being part of the strict and serious Hyuga clan, Hinata seems to be shy and friendly. However, he was confused when she starts to stutter and blush, and sometimes faint, when he is near. He shrugged it off as a personality quirk or something. She scored 8 out of 10 and 7 out of 10 on her try, which was above average compared to the rest. The next on the list was the dog-like Inuzuka Kiba and his faithful companion, the puppy Akameru, who scored 7 out of 10 on both weapons. It was good considering that their clan are born with great hand-eye coordination along with the strength to back it up thanks to their bloodline. Nara Shikamaru, the laziest of their classmates, was called next. The Nara always confused Naruto. He knew that the lazy boy was smart and comes from a powerful clan in Konoha, but his laziness to exert a modicum of effort was confusing. Due to his laziness, he scored a passing grade of 5 out of 10 without trying. Naruto mused that the Nara must be hiding his strength or thinking that it was too troublesome to exert some effort. A sudden cry from the female students brought Naruto out of his study of the Nara habits, realizing that it was the Uchiha's turn on the field, and the cheer he got from his fangirls was loud enough to make him wince thanks to his advanced hearing. The urge to put his hands to his ears was almost unbearable, but he persevered since that would give away his abilities. In truth, Sasuke also confused the blonde. He was quite friendly when they were kids, but after the massacre of his clan, he became a brooding emo that shoved everyone out of his emotional and physical space. It wasn't a healthy lifestyle to Naruto's observation. He could never deny the fact that Sasuke was a prodigy, as their instructors loves to point out, but having an attitude is never an excuse. Anyway, he scored 8 out of 10 and 9 out of 10 on both his weapons, which brought a loud cheer from his fan club. Uzumaki Naruto, Iruka called out. Naruto took in a deep breath and pushed himself off the tree and went to his teacher and took the offered weapons. 5 shurikens and 5 kunais. 2 points each, a point each for both accuracy and strength of the throw. Naruto placed himself in front of the dummy and took a stance that Saji taught him to relax himself before throwing a weapon. He was thankful for his work in Saji's workshop since his ability to use ranged weapons dramatically increased. After all, you have to test the weapons you make, so Saji taught him the how-tos in weapons throwing. He threw his weapon one by one without pause and got him a score of 9 out of 10 and 10 out of 10 easily. Silence greeted him. Nice work, Naruto. It seems you've improved your weapon skills compared to last year's scores, praised Iruka, giving the blonde a smile which the boy happily returned. It was then that the flood of complaints came out from Sasuke's fangirls that there was no way for Naruto to score more than their beloved Uchiha. Said Uchiha, however, stomped towards Naruto and questioned him about it. What did you do, Dobe? Asked an irate Sasuke. Huh? Asked a confused Naruto while ignoring the jibe to his abilities. What did you do to get a score like that? There is no way you're better than me in weapons throwing. I trained for months. Grated Sasuke almost to the point of being hysterical. Naruto shrugged and observed the Yamanaka air when she was called to throw. However, he answered Sasuke all the same. I worked in a weapon shop for a year now, and Saji-san taught me how to make shurikens, kunais, and senbons. Since it is necessary to test the weapons we make, he taught me how to throw properly, and I have been throwing the weapons I make every day. I guess that is how I improved, he explained calmly. He omitted the fact that Saji also gave him some in-depth advice on how to improve his throwing stance and accuracy, since he knew Sasuke wouldn't like that information. In most cases, the Uchiha would just demand from him to teach him what he knows, and he didn't want that to happen. He had no intentions of teaching the arrogant ass anything if he can help it. Sasuke calmed down when he heard the explanation and gave a grunt before turning his back and going back to his brooding. Naruto noticed the action and just shrugged. He learned a few months ago that the best way to pacify the Uchiha ego is to always give a clear and concise explanation. After all, how can he argue when the results are quite obvious? The weapons throwing session ended when the Yamanaka heir scored an average 5 out of 10 and 7 out of 10. He made a passing note that Ino was better than Sakura before focusing his attention back to Iruka, who was already announcing that the taijutsu spar will start after a 10-minute break. The taijutsu spar ended well in his favor. He was partnered with another academy student from a civilian stock. He dodged the attacks easily and ended the contest by getting under the student's guard and a punch to the gut that knocked his opponent unconscious. They were all herded back to the classroom to practice their clones, which was a big disappointment for Naruto, but he was determined to perfect it if it was the last thing he ever done. He kept doing clones for an hour, and all he was able to make is a sickly replica of himself which was lying down on the ground as if it was out of energy. He frowned while the rest of the class was laughing at him, but he ignored it. He did everything right and gave it chakra, but no matter how hard he tried, he didn't know why his clones looked that way. He asked Iruka about it, but he didn't have any explanation as to why. The class ended in failure for Naruto, but he was adamant to perfect the clone technique before he graduates from the academy in the future. Hiruzen Sarutobi and Senju Tsunade were looking at the Hokage's crystal ball that was showing Naruto's class in the academy. They were doing that almost every day for two major reasons. 1. To observe Naruto and the growth of his bloodline under the academy's controlled setting. And 2. See the changes in the academy's performance firsthand if their original plan was working or not. Both were looking at the scene with interest, and frowned when Naruto failed the cloning exercise. You know, it is impossible for Naruto to make a basic clone with his chakra reserves. Even the chakra control exercises he will learn when he becomes a genin would be useless since there is just too much for him to properly control. Heck, I'm not even sure if I can control it at all if I was in his shoes. Observed Tsunade, always interested in the development of Naruto's bloodline. The level of chakra Naruto possesses will require a better chakra control exercise if he got around to asking for help. I agree. I got the same conclusion myself. If I recall, Kushina had the same problem as well since the Uzumaki clan is quite well known for their dense and powerful chakra. It was one of the reasons why we have the Kage Bunshin in our possession. She offered it to Konoha when she transferred here from Yuzu as a sign of goodwill. Stated the Hokage, taking a puff from his favorite pipe while thinking of the hot-tempered redhead that was Naruto's mother. Tsunade looked at her sensei with a frown. Why don't you teach him then? It is his birthright after all. If I remember correctly, Kage Bunshin is considered as a basic technique in Yuzu and is a requirement in their genin exams before the village was wiped out. The Hokage hummed in agreement. True, but I prefer to let Naruto come to me with the problem instead of me just offering it to him. I don't want him to become too dependent on me. If I know him well, he will keep trying at it considering his bullheadedness, but if he presents the problem to me then I will teach it to him. Explained the aged Hokage to his former student considering how distraught she was over Naruto's continuing struggle with the technique. Ever since the council coup and leaf renovation plan as they called it, Sarutobi Hiruzen reverted back to the persona of the professor that scared Konoha's enemies during the Third Great Shinobi War. No longer was he a complacent leader, giving second chances and letting this runs for themselves. No, he was now a man who analyzed things on a greater perspective, allowing him to determine whether a peaceful solution is needed or the application of brute force to ensure compliance. He was also grooming Tsunade to take the position one day when he retires, which is one of the reasons why both of them were checking on the academy almost every day to see if the changes were being followed to the letter. He trusted Hamura and Kohara to follow his directives, but it never hurts to check once in a while to make sure that everything is as it should be. It seems that introducing jutsus and increasing weapons proficiency in the academy classes was yielding positive results. However, he was still considering whether it was a good idea to introduce Meido Gai to the academy's physical program. He shuddered as he envisioned a graduating class of genins wearing green spandex running around Konoha doing missions. The horror of it all. He might need to visit Inoichi later to remove the traumatic vision from his mind. So Tsunade, do you have any news on Naruto's bloodline? Asked Sarutobi, finally breaking the patient facade since he was quite interested in Naruto's bloodline and wanted to make sure that his surrogate grandson will not be suffering from serious problems in the future. Tsunade opened up a scroll that contained her conclusions and theories regarding Naruto's condition. Nothing much, sensei. It seems that the improvement to his senses, mainly his hearing, smell, and taste have stopped, so we can expect it to be at this level even after he reached maturity. Tsunade reported with a clinical detachment that medic Nin should emulate when giving medical reports. However, these senses are still greater than that of the strongest Inuzuka, so he got the best in the bargain. Actually, it is a godsend that it stopped, or else he will be suffering from it in the future since there is no way to turn it off. I was even surprised when he told me that he could control his senses depending on the situation. His physical body is still improving at an astounding rate, and his work in Saji's shop is doing wonders to his core strength. I guess it was a stroke of genius on Iruka's part to have the kid work there considering his bloodline. When he reaches puberty, he would be somewhere around 6 feet 3 inches in height with a body as powerful as a bodybuilder but springy as an athlete. The totality of the report pleased Sarutobi immensely. Not only was his surrogate grandson a powerful shinobi in training, he was silently relieved that the boy's ability will be used for the safety of the leaf. That is great news, Tsunade. Yes, Iruka did earn my respect when he helped the boy out. He paused a bit, remembering a tiny info in Tsunade's notes. How about the activation of Naruto's wolf transformation as you called it? The legendary slug Sannin shrugged while sealing the medical reports back into her personal storage scroll. Nothing so far. We know that it is a mental and emotional trigger, but we haven't determined anything yet. We have come to a conclusion that the change might require him to age a bit first, or it will require a massive amount of mental and emotional trauma to initiate the change. Aside from that, we got nothing concrete. Only time can tell how it would come out. The Hokage nodded. There was nothing he could do about it but pray that the emergence of this phase of Naruto's bloodline wouldn't be detrimental to the boy's health. Keep me posted after every checkup to make sure that no harm comes to Naruto. I have failed him once before, and I will not do so again, declared the aged Hokage with determination in his eyes that mimicked Tsunade's. Time skip 4 years after discovery of bloodline. Naruto's age 13. Naruto was currently hammering away on a piece of metal that he was shaping for an order of a katana by an ANBU. He had come a long way in his skills as Saji's unofficial apprentice. When he was 11, Saji announced that his skill working with metals for 2 years have improved and he was ready in shaping metals for larger weapons. This was the time that Naruto became Saji's unofficial apprentice in the art. Under Saji's tutelage, Naruto learned the art of sword making, as well as applying what he learned to create other weapons, like spears, sayas, halberds, and the likes. He absorbed every bit of knowledge from Saji like a sponge, and the old weapon maker was more than happy with the results. It has been 4 years since he started working with Saji, and Naruto is a very happy camper. Aside from his skills in metals and weapons, the blonde boy has changed from a scrawny boy to a powerful shinobi in training. He now stood at 5 feet 11 inches, way taller than those in his age group, with muscles that would make any female swoon. If one didn't know Naruto, he could easily pass himself off as a teenager, and nobody would ever know. As he was hammering on the red-hot metal, Naruto's thoughts drifted off to the various changes in his life, his body going on autopilot, crafting the metal as if his subconscious mind was taking over, leaving his conscious thoughts to his own. He was no longer the academy pariah, or the dead last as some students used to call him. Due to his increasing skills in weapons and in taijutsu, he easily rose in the score bracket to 4th best in the class. The only thing hindering him is his inability to make clones, but the other facets of ninjutsu was quite easy for him, especially the henge, which he sometimes used when he needs to buy some stuff in the village from shop owners who was quite adamant that he not shop from their stores. Speaking of taijutsu, he was able to modify the current academy taijutsu to create his own style based on speed and power. He called it Wolf's Rage, an attack that utilized the basic academy katas to inflict powerful blows while using his agility and speed to get under his opponent's guard. His style was similar to the Goken that he saw a green spandex wearing Jounin use during one of the academy demonstrations. The only difference is that his movements was wild and unpredictable, similar to how a wolf would dart, evade, and attack when facing an enemy. He was proud of his new style since Iruka told him that the lack of pattern in the style makes it almost impossible for the Sharingan to copy or anticipate. It was far from being perfect, but it was a work in progress with promising results. His academy days were better too since he made friends with a lot of the clan heirs in his class. He first made friends with Choji and Shikamaru when the chubby Akimichi invaded Ichiraku Ramen and challenged him to an itathon, which he conveniently won due to his increased metabolism. Since then, the 3 boys were fast friends and sometimes trained with each other, except for Shikamaru, who preferred to just lie on the grass and stare at the clouds while his 2 friends sweated out with their training. He also made friends with the ever-stoic Aburame Shino. They usually meet each other in the forest, Naruto practicing his skills in the wild while Shino was looking for bugs to add to his colony. Their relationship was more on professionalism since the bug user refused to speak more than a few words at a time to Naruto's disappointment. He did earn the bug user's respect when he used his knowledge of the forest to point out where the rarer bugs resided. What Naruto didn't know, this action endeared him to the Aburame clan and would offer him any help if he deems to just ask for it. He also made friends with the brooding Uchiha, though Sasuke prefers to call it rivalry, much to Naruto's amusement. They usually sparred during their free time in a taijutsu-only match since Naruto didn't have a clan library to fall back on in terms of jutsus. Their frequent spars made them the best in taijutsu in academy, with Naruto in the lead due to his physical body and speed, followed closely by Sasuke, whose reflexes and attacks were quite fluid since Naruto was merciless on him. All in all, both boys were happy with their positions, and the result of their relationship showed in their performance in class. Naruto treated him as a friend, but Sasuke treated him as a rival, though Sasuke just wanted to deny that they were friends in the first place. Also, his teachers in the academy improved their outlook on Naruto except for Mizuki. The white-haired Chunin always tried to ruin Naruto's education, but the blonde just ignored the man and always asked for second opinion in Saji regarding lessons, so he was corrected before the wrong teachings were too ingrained into his psyche. Due to his apprenticeship under Saji, Naruto's reputation in the village also improved as well. Sure, there were still glares directed at him when he walked the streets, but he noticed that there were only a few of them now. The Konoha shinobi now knew who was making their quality weapons, and they were astounded when Saji explained to them that it was all Naruto's work when they commented on it upon purchase. He explained that due to his age, Naruto, more or less, took charge of the smithy, only giving tips and instructions every now and then to improve his creations. He relegated himself to watching the store and taking orders while reading an orange book, which Naruto found suspicious since Saji always giggled like a schoolgirl after a few pages with blood coming out of his nose. His various deliveries around the village made him visible to many. At first, many were curious when they see the speeding blonde carrying heavy packages to and from different parts of the village. However, as time passed, they were able to piece things together that Naruto was earning himself a living by working as Saji's apprentice while studying in the academy. This made some of the villagers respect his hard work and conveniently forgotten what he was carrying inside him. After all, if the respectable Saji likes the boy, who are they to refute? He was also enjoying a close relationship with his new doctors, Tsunade and her assistant, Shizen. Sure, he was flabbergasted at first when he found out that Kaido passed him off to the legendary Sannin for his checkup, and at first he couldn't accept the fact that such a famous figure was concerned about his health. At first he was awkward, but he eventually opened up to the both of them and treated them like family, Shizen as a doting sister and Tsunade as a crazy aunt, crazy when she practically demolished the office when Naruto offhandedly commented about her age. That was one mistake he would never commit again. He shuddered every time he thought that it could have been his body hit by Tsunade's famous punches instead of the wall, which was pulverized into dust upon contact with her legendary fist. He knew that his body could never hope to survive, bloodline or no. Another of Naruto's accomplishment is his newly improved apartment. After 2 years of working with Saji, he noticed that his apartment was no longer being attacked by mobs. He didn't realize that the villagers were starting to accept him slowly, but he was oblivious to the fact since he trained himself to ignore them for years after he was thrown out of the orphanage and being subjected to their hate for years. Using his savings, he purchased materials to help repair and renovate the apartment, and used the skills he gained from Saji to turn his 1-bedroom apartment to a 3-bedroom flat complete with kitchen and lounge room. His apartment didn't have the necessary space, but he bought the rooms besides his own and broke down the walls so he could change it to his needs. He renovated one room to store his own weapons, which was a grand collection considering that he made them himself. He wanted to put a dojo on the lower floor, but he needed to ask the Hokage about that if he is willing to sell the entire floor to Naruto, since the apartment building he was staying was the property of the village. He put this plan on hold, however, since the forest was served well as a training ground. He was brought out of his musing when he noticed that the metal he was pounding was properly shaped. He picked it up with a pair of tongs and dropped it in a vat of water to cool down. The hiss it made was spectacular, and Naruto was proud to finish another weapon for the use of the leaf. He took pride in all the weapons he made, and the quality was testament on how he showed attention to every piece he worked with. When the metal was significantly cooled, he pulled it out using the tongs and placed it in front of his work table for inspection. It was perfect. He nodded to himself and placed it in one section of the wall for the next step to be done tomorrow, sharpening and shaping the blade. His genin exam is scheduled this afternoon, and was hoping to pass it so he can finally become a part of Konoha's military and achieve his dream. He wiped the sweat from his brows and removed the leather apron he was wearing, revealing a powerful, muscled body without an ounce of fat. He took a white shirt from one of the hooks on the wall, placed it over his head and tugged it in place. He left the smithy to the front of the shop, where he saw a giggling Saji reading his orange book again. He just sighed at his sensei's eccentricity. "As sensei, reading that smut again?" berated Naruto with an exasperated sigh. Saji closed the book and frowned at his apprentice. "Shut up, Gaki. You can never become a man if you don't read this fine piece of literature." Naruto scoffed. "That's just porn. Only perverts read those. And I'm no pervert," declared the blonde boy. Saji gave Naruto a perverted grin. "Really now? So the blush you were sporting when Higarashi's kid, Tenten, came by a few days ago was nothing? Huh!" he finished with a leer. Naruto blushed and scowled. "Shut up, sensei. Anyway, I'm leaving early. I need to get to my apartment to freshen up so I won't be late for today's exam." The old man nodded and gave the boy a pat on the back. "You will do great, boy. Make sure that you come by after you graduate. I have something that you would find interesting." Naruto gave him a curious look. "Is this about the project you were making for months now?" Naruto knew that Saji was working on the smith during his off days and effectively hiding it from him. His curiosity was piqued, but he didn't want to badger his unofficial master about it. Patience, after all, was one of the most important lessons Saji drilled into his head. Saji just waved his curiosity away. "Ask me no question and I tell you no lies." Then he roughly pushed Naruto out of his shop. "Beat it, squirt, and give them hell." Naruto grinned. Sure. We'll do that. Bye now, old man." With that, Naruto sprinted towards his apartment at top speed to make sure that he didn't arrive late for his exam. Naruto exited the compound in a depressed mood. He failed the academy exam despite being rated as the third in his class. How was he to know that the clone jutsu was part of the exam prerequisite? He kicked a stray pebble while he walked towards Ichiraku Ramen, planning to eat away his grief for failing the exam. He almost reached his destination when someone called his name. Naruto. Naruto stopped, turned around, and saw Mizuki walking towards him. "Hi Mizuki-sensei. What brings you here?" greeted Naruto in a subdued voice. Mizuki gave him a smile. "I was looking for you." He placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. "How are you doing?" he said in concern. Naruto just shrugged. "Doing okay. I mean, I failed before, so this is nothing new." Mizuki patted him on the back. "Don't worry about it. Actually, I came here to offer you something that we usually do to those who failed the exam," he said with a grin. The blonde boy perked up at this. "Another way to pass the exam? This is too good to be true. Are you sure, Mizuki-sensei? I haven't heard about this before." The white-haired Chunin just waved the question away. "Of course you haven't heard of it. It won't be a special test if everyone knows about it. We only offer this to exceptional students who don't get to pass the exam due to some circumstances, like your failure to make a clone for one. So what do you say? Are you interested?" Naruto nodded with glee. He is being offered another chance to pass the exam, and who was he to turn down an opportunity like this? "So what do I need to do, Mizuki-sensei?" asked Naruto in excitement, totally missing the sly look Mizuki was giving him. "Well, it's simple really. This is a stealth and retrieval mock exam. There is a huge scroll in the Hokage library that you need to steal and bring to a designated spot in the forest. Your task is to successfully infiltrate the Konoha archive in the Hokage tower, steal the test scroll, and bring it to this location," he instructed Naruto while giving him a piece of paper with a hand-drawn map of the rendezvous point. "In order to graduate, you need to learn a jutsu from that scroll before I arrive. So, do you want to take this exam? This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it won't be offered a second time." "Sure thing. I will get this exam done perfectly," Naruto exclaimed while speeding off towards his apartment to get ready for his mock mission, totally missing the sinister smirk adorning Mizuki's face. It was almost midnight when Naruto arrived at the shack deep in the forest where he was supposed to meet with Mizuki. He still had 2 hours to spare, and stealing the scroll was relatively easy considering he can easily hear and see the ANBU patrols in the tower with his abilities. Squatting down on the ground, he placed the scroll on the grassy floor and opened it. The first technique he saw was the Kage Bunshin technique, a cloning technique that requires a huge amount of chakra to perform. Jackpot. Here is the solution for his worst jutsu that made him fail the academy. He read through the description and found it to his liking, especially the idea that his clones passes whatever they learn to the original. Without wasting any time, Naruto followed the instruction and was able to properly activate the technique without even getting winded. Dispelling the clones, he took advantage of the extra time to check on more of what the scroll has to offer. "Let me see. I got the Kage Bunshin down, so that is enough for me to pass Mizuki-sensei's test, so let's see what else this scroll has information. Fourth Hokage's price jutsu, not too complicated." He continued to unroll the scroll. "Forbidden sealing methods, nope. I have no knowledge on seals and these are too complicated. Let me see, what's this? Legendary summoning, huh? Now that sounds interesting." He read the content. Legendary summoning. Unlike other summoning contracts, the legendary summoning borders beyond the normal summoning animals. The technique was first used by the Shodai Hokage, but he failed the test by one of the creatures he was able to summon. There is no known drawback to this technique except for the fact that it requires massive amounts of chakra to even connect to the one you are supposed to summon. It is also noted that this type of summoning technique will summon the animal that is suited for you at the expense of your chakra. Beware. Many shinobis have died from utilizing this technique when they were completely drained dry of their chakra when making contact with their summoning animal. Only 3 people have accomplished this, mainly Jiraiya of the toads, Orochimaru of the snake, and Tsunade of the slugs. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sandaime Hokage. Holder and guardian of the monkey summoning contract. Naruto was flabbergasted with his discovery. So this is how summoning animals was made possible. If he was right, he could easily pull this off considering the amount of chakra at his disposal. Having his own summon animal was quite cool after all. Naruto was about to try the technique when Irika suddenly appeared in front of him with an angry scowl on his face. "Naruto! What have you done? Why did you steal the forbidden scroll?" shouted Irika. Naruto just gave him a confused look. "Huh? What do you mean, Irika-sensei? Weren't you here to check up on me and to test me what technique I learned from the scroll so I can pass the special exam?" Now it was Irika's turn to be confused. What special exam? I haven't heard of any special exam, hollered Irika. What? Mizuki-sensei told me that there is a special exam offered by the academy. He told me to steal this scroll, learn a technique from it in order to pass, and he will meet with me to test me afterwards, explained Naruto, excited to show Irika what he learned. Irika was far from stupid. From Naruto's revelation, it seems that the blonde was clueless that he was tricked into stealing the scroll by Mizuki. He was about to tell the blonde when a sudden barrage of shurikens flew towards them from shadows of the forest. Seeing no other way, he pushed Naruto and the scroll away from him and in the process, got hit by several of them. Luckily, none of them were lethal. It was unfortunate of you to find out, Irika. If you just stayed in the academy, then you would have lived to see another day, stated Mizuki after he dropped down on a branch and sneered at his bleeding co-teacher. Irika grunted as he pulled out a shuriken embedded on his shoulder before glaring at Mizuki. Mizuki! You traitor! How could you trick Naruto to steal the scroll? You're committing treason! Yada yada yada! Is that all you have to say, Irika? I thought better of you. Besides, who would care if I tricked the boy? He is nothing more than a demon, spat Mizuki with obvious hatred for the boy who was watching the scene. Naruto, who was confused and angered at the attack at Irika, looked at Mizuki with confusion and rage in his eyes. What are you doing, Mizuki-sensei? He bellowed. Mizuki sneered. Shut up, demon. Why don't you just give me the scroll and let me kill you before I go on my merry way? Irika got in between the two and drew a kunai from his pouch, adopting a defensive stance, and glared at Mizuki. Naruto, get away from here. Protect the scroll and run, ordered Irika, preparing to attack Mizuki as a decoy to give Naruto time to get to the village and get help. Naruto was about to leave when Mizuki's next statement made him stop in his tracks. Do you want to know why everyone hated you, Naruto? Why everyone in the village keeps calling you a demon? Initiating his plan to keep the boy rooted on the spot so he can take the scroll later after he dealt with Irika. Irika couldn't believe what Mizuki was saying. This was a secret punishable by death. Mizuki. Don't. The Hokage forbade us to even mention that. Who cares, Irika? I'm leaving the village anyway. Besides, don't you think it's only fitting to let the boy know before I kill him? Said Mizuki with an evil smirk on his face, quite happy that his plan was working like clockwork. Naruto was confused. What in the world were they talking about? Irika-sensei? What is Mizuki talking about? Asked a confused Naruto. Before Irika could answer, Mizuki beat him to it. Oh ho. You want to know badly, boy? You remembered the QB, don't you? The one that attacked the village 13 years ago? Naruto nodded, confusion lining his face. Good. You see, the Yondaime didn't kill the QB. He sealed it. Mizuki. No! Irika shouted in desperation. He even threw a kunai at Mizuki hoping to stop the revelation, but the traitor just moved out of the way before continuing. Shut up, Irika. Where was I? Oh yes. He sealed it in a boy that was also born the night the demon attacked. Guess what? You are the boy that he sealed the QB into. You are a demon. You are the QB no Yoko. Finished Mizuki with an evil cackle upon seeing the look of shock on the boy's face. Naruto froze at the revelation. He remembered all the times that the villagers attacked him, spouting demon brat and fox demon every time they land a punch or a kick on him. He also remembered the glare of the villagers as he passed by them. Now everything was clear. No wonder the villagers hated him. Mizuki saw that Naruto was frozen on the spot by the revelation, so he took advantage of the situation. Die, demon! He threw the massive shuriken he was holding towards the still frozen Naruto, thinking to end the demon's life there, and then gained recognition in the process, not that he needed it since he was leaving the village anyway. Irika saw the projectile flying towards his beloved student, so he did the only thing he could think of. He shoved Naruto down to the ground and shielded him with his body. A loud squelching sound echoed throughout the clearing when one of the blades of the shuriken embedded itself into Irika's back. Naruto was brought out of his shock when he saw his teacher push him out of the way of the shuriken and took the attack himself. He looked at the figure of Irika covering him, with blood running down the side of his mouth. Are you okay, Naruto? Slurred Irika, coughing a little bit of blood that splattered on Naruto's face. Irika-sensei. Why did you save me? I am a demon. I should die, blurted a shocked Naruto. Irika shook his head slowly and gave Naruto a smile. And no, Naruto. Why you aren't the demon? I should know since I saw you grow to a fine man. You are. Irika coughed again, more blood dribbling down his chin from the damage he sustained from the attack. Oh, shut up, Irika. You hate the fox more than I do, spat Mizuki, glaring at the two on the ground beneath him. Yes. I do hate the fox, stated Irika. Naruto froze at this revelation. But Naruto is not the fox. He is my beloved student who I would protect with my life. Mizuki sneered. So be it. Then die, Irika. He was about to throw his other shuriken when an earth-shattering punch collided with his face that threw him to the ground with a sickening crunch. He pulled himself up after gathering his wits and saw Naruto standing in front of him, between him and the prostrate Irika, glaring at him with cold fury in his eyes. You will not hurt Irika-sensei. If you touch him again, I'll return the pain 1,000 times over, declared Naruto in a cold voice that made Mizuki shiver. Mizuki scoffed, and pulled himself off the ground and withdrew a kunai from his pouch. Give it a try, demon. You're no match against me. What can an academy dropout do to a seasoned chunin like me? Naruto just glared at the man he hated with all his guts for hurting his beloved sensei. He made a modified cross ram seal in front of him and shouted, "This Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." The clearing was covered in smoke, which later dissipated, revealing hundreds of Naruto clones glaring at the traitor. The blonde grinned at the shocked look on Mizuki's face and shouted, "Okay, boys. Make him feel pain like never before." A loud "yes, boss" echoed throughout the clearing, and the entire clone army descended on the shocked Mizuki and beat the hell out of him. Naruto walked back to Irika to check up on his beloved teacher that practically saved his life. "Irika-sensei, are you okay? I should bring you to the hospital. You're bleeding very badly." Irika was shocked when he saw Naruto clobber the hell out of Mizuki with hundreds of clones. Shadow clones. He watched the beating that Mizuki received for a few minutes before the hundreds of clones dispelled, revealing a beat-up Mizuki in the middle of the clearing. He heard Naruto ask him if he was okay and looked at the grinning, yet concerned face of his beloved student. "Yes, Naruto. I'm fine. Nice job in beating Mizuki." He pulled out 2 pills from his pouch and took them. Chakra and blood replenishing pills. When you attacked Mizuki, I diverted all of my chakra to the wound to close it up. I drained all of my chakra just to close it up, so I need to replenish it, explained Irika when he saw the questioning look on Naruto's face. Hee. I didn't know that, confessed Naruto while scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. Irika chuckled. Anyway, let's go return the scroll to the Hokage. Watch out. He pushed Naruto out of the way when he heard the distinct metallic clink from Mizuki's direction and was hit by a kunai in the chest. Naruto was savagely pushed out of the way when Irika shouted. He looked back at his sensei and saw a kunai stuck on his chest. He saw red. Seeing Irika's shocked face and a kunai on his chest made Naruto's felt fear and rage. Fear for Irika's health and rage over the attack to one of his precious people. He swerved his head and glared at a bleeding Mizuki who had a triumphant look on his face. He good riddance to bad rubbish, stuttered Mizuki as he spat out some blood that was pooling in his mouth. Now that he's out of the way, it's time too. He froze from his rant when he saw Naruto. The blonde boy was seeing red. Rage bubbled through his blood and heat spread throughout his body as if his very veins was on fire. He could feel the rage releasing a torrent of energy from his body that he couldn't describe. The rage ignited something inside him that would forever scare the living crap out of Mizuki. Naruto howled as the rage and heat in his body rose up to a roaring crescendo. His body bulged and grew that ripped his clothes away, except for his pants. His golden hair grew longer as golden fur grew from every inch of his skin. His once blue eyes turned a golden yellow. A wave of energy emanated from him as he howled once again, his body in pain under the throes of another change. He crouched down on the ground on all fours as his body changed again. His ears grew and his mouth elongated to form a wolf's muzzle. His teeth grew sharper, more defined. Sharp nails grew from his hands and feet. He howled again as another wave of power was released. After the feeling died down, Naruto rose up, shivering from pain all over his body as he changed to his wolf form, which was slowly receding as the heat slowly disappeared from his system. He took away his sight from the still shocked Mizuki and checked himself out. He was like those werewolves in the books he read. He was very tall, taller than he was before the change considering how he was towering over Mizuki now. His claws were very sharp and he was covered in golden fur. His face released a wolfish grin that practically made Mizuki piss his pants when he saw it, which was the result of seeing razor-sharp teeth baring at him. Nice. So this is what Tsunade-Basan was talking about when she said I could turn into a wolf. This is so cool, crowed the now-changed blonde as he examined the changes on his body. He felt so powerful, so free, so liberating. The feeling made him want to howl again, not in pain but of freedom. He was about to do so when the voice of Mizuki interrupted him. This caused him to growl in annoyance. What are you? Demon! I knew it! You're the QB! Ranted a still shocked Mizuki. Naruto released a wolf-like growl that echoed throughout the clearing. Are you stupid or what? I'm a wolf, you idiot. QB is a fox, and as you can see gesturing to his changed body, I'm a wolf, or a wolf man, dumbass. Shut up. You won't trick me, demon. Die. Spat Mizuki, gathering up what's left of his courage and threw his lone shuriken at Naruto, who watched it spinning towards him in slow motion. He easily snatched it out of thin air by grasping one of its blades with ease. He looked at the weapon for a few moments, and realized that it was one of his creations. Team. How dare you attack me with the weapon that I made? Besides, this is how you use it. He threw the shuriken back at Mizuki with amazing strength. The speed that it was flying made it impossible for the traitor to avoid it entirely, slicing one of his arms off by the elbow before it cut off one of the trees behind him before getting stuck at another. Mizuki howled in pain. Naruto saw his chance and dashed forward with his powerful legs and punched Mizuki in the gut with a powerful uppercut that broke one of his lower ribs and threw him up into the air. Naruto then jumped up and did an axe kick that hit the traitor on the back and propelled him to the ground with amazing force that it caused a crater upon impact. Naruto landed at the edge of the Mizuki-shaped crater and saw the traitorous Chunin knocked out from the blow. The team was still alive, judging from the shallow movement of his chest. Naruto snorted and walked back to his beloved sensei with a gait similar of a predator stalking his prey. Iruka coughed and blearily opened his eyes but shouted when he saw a golden werewolf grinning in front of him. Ah, don't eat me! He screamed in a high-pitched voice. Naruto was shocked at Iruka's outburst but could understand Iruka's position considering his recent change. Nay, Iruka-sensei. It's me. Naruto. Desperately holding in his laughter from Iruka's childish reaction. Naruto? Is that you? Stuttered Iruka. Naruto rolled his eyes and gave Iruka a huge wolfy grin that scared the wounded Chunin again. After all, seeing razor-sharp teeth just a few inches from your face have that effect on anyone. Yep. I finally activated another part of my bloodline that Tsunade-basen told me about. I'm a wolf, see? Or maybe a werewolf? Isn't it cool? Naruto jumped back to show Iruka his entire frame. Iruka chuckled. Yep, this was Naruto alright. He checked his wounds and was lucky that one of the storage scrolls in his chest pocket protected him from the kunai. He sighed in relief. He thought that he was about to die from that. Chakra or not, a second major wound was not something to look forward to when you're already wounded. He looked at the jumping and exultant Naruto in front of him and grinned. Naruto. You did know that you're almost naked, right? Iruka pointed at the almost mutilated pants Naruto was wearing with only a few threads and his belt holding it in place. Naruto looked at Iruka, confused, then looked down. What he saw made him curse. Shit! What happened to my clothes? My favorite pants. My shoes. Nuh! Saji is going to kill me! Wailed Naruto in a childlike manner, but his rough, wolfish voice destroyed the facade. Iruka was about to make another comment when the Hokage and his ANBU guards appeared in front of him, effectively shielding his view of Naruto. Their position also made sure that they couldn't see Naruto as well. Iruka. Where is Mizuki and the scroll? Where is Naruto? Demanded the Hokage, worried about his grandson. Iruka just shrugged and just pointed behind them. The Hokage and ANBU weren't prepared to see 9-foot-tall werewolf grinning at them beside a much-wounded Mizuki and the forbidden scroll lying innocently on the ground. Yo! Greeted a still grinning Naruto, showing off his razor-sharp teeth, waving one of his clawed paws/hand at the new arrivals. The Hokage and the ANBU fainted, causing Naruto and Iruka to sweat drop. The Hokage woke up face to face with the grinning werewolf. Hi Hokage Gigi. Glad of you to join us, greeted Naruto. When the Hokage and the ANBU fainted, Naruto and Iruka laughed out loud at their response before deciding to wait for them to wake up. Naruto was telling Iruka about his changes and abilities when he heard the old man wake up from his fainting spell and proceeded to greet him. Naruto, is that you? Asked a still shocked Hokage, checking out the changes on his surrogate grandson. Naruto's grin grew wider if possible. Yup, Gigi. I finally changed to my wolf form. Isn't it cool? Won't Tsunade-basen be surprised, huh? The Hokage chuckled. Yep, this was Naruto alright. Nothing could ever emulate the way he addresses him even when they are in front of people. Also, only Naruto would find his changes cool. He was about to say something, when the ANBU guards woke up and saw a grinning Naruto in front of the Hokage. They did the only thing they could think. They immediately attacked. Naruto saw the ANBU woke up and immediately proceeded to attack him. He grabbed one of the punches thrown by the huge bear-masked ANBU and threw him to the side, hoping that he didn't hurt him too much. He dodged a sword swipe from a cat-masked ANBU, yanked the sword out of her grip and threw her away as well. The last ANBU was going through a jutsu when Naruto suddenly appeared in front of him and punched him in the gut. All of these were done in just 5 seconds. The 2 ANBU that Naruto threw to the trees was about to attack again when a shout of stop from the Hokage froze them in their tracks. "Stop attacking Naruto-kun now! Stand down!" commanded the Hokage in a voice that brooked no complaints. That's Naruto?" asked the cat-faced ANBU. "Hiya, it's me," quipped Wolf Naruto, giving his old caretaker a wave with his clawed hands, which looked practically scary considering the razor-sharp nails he was sporting. Nico recognized the way she was called immediately. She ran up to Naruto, jumped, and bonked him in the head. "What were you thinking stealing the forbidden scroll, you baka? And what happened to you?" It was quite funny to see a 9-foot-tall golden werewolf being scolded by a mere 5 feet 5 inches woman. Everyone in the clearing sweat dropped at the hilarity of the situation. Naruto sat down and massaged his head. "Nico-chan," he whined. "I can explain. It wasn't my fault. Mizuki tricked." "I don't care if you were tricked. You should be smart enough to recognize deception," ranted an irate Nico. Naruto dropped his gaze to the ground, which was quite comical to the onlookers since it wasn't every day that a werewolf is cowed by a woman. Heck, it's not every day you see a werewolf. Period. "Sorry, Nico-chan," said Naruto in a downtrodden voice, almost a whine that made their hearts ache. Nico was about to bop him again on the head, but she saw something that made her buried girly instinct run out of control. A golden furry wolf with cute fluffy ears and a bushy tail lazily swaying behind him. She tried to stop herself from doing what she promised never to do again when she joined the NBU. She tried, and she snapped. "Kawaii!" She shouted and glomped on Naruto with so much force that the large wolf was thrown on his back. Nico nuzzling the huge ears and scratching it. Naruto was in heaven. The feeling of being scratched was dizzying. He released a plaintive whine of contentment, and his tail and one of his legs was twitching in bliss, his tongue lolling out the side of his muzzle, eyes half closed. Iruka and the Hokage saw the potential blackmail material the scene opened up to, so they immediately whipped out a camera from somewhere and took multiple photos of the oblivious duo, then hid it again without anyone noticing. The remaining 2 ANBU just sweat dropped at the sight. The Hokage, wanting to get the night over and done with, released a loud cough that caught everyone's attention. "Okay. Now that is over and done with. Bear, I want you to take Iruka to the hospital. Eagle, I want you to go get Tsunade and tell her to be in my office ASAP. Tell her it's about Naruto, she'll understand the seriousness of the situation. Cat, you can let go of Naruto now." This caused Naruto and Cat to whine but was duly ignored by the old leader. "Everything you see here is an S-class secret and must not be released to the public without my express permission. Is that clear?" The ANBUs and Iruka shouted in affirmative. Bear grabbed Iruka and Shunshined to the hospital, leaving Naruto, Nico, and the other ANBU with the Hokage. "Now let's go to my office for debriefing." It took them some time to travel to the Hokage's office due to Naruto's condition. They tried to use Shunshin at first, but it didn't work since Naruto was just too big and too heavy to do so, and making such a feat possible requires a lot of chakra to pull off. So in the end, the Hokage and Nico, who were left in the clearing with Naruto, decided to teach Naruto the body flicker technique, Shunshin, so they can get back to the office without having to reveal Naruto's recent changes to the public. After all, the Hokage Tower was in the middle of the crowded village, so hiding a 9-foot-tall golden werewolf was definitely beyond their abilities, even if it was past midnight, since there were shinobis patrolling. It took an hour before Naruto was able to get the technique down, but the blonde required practice before he could perfect it enough to travel long distances. They spent another hour of Naruto appearing and reappearing around the clearing before they were able to arrive at their destination, much to the Hokage's consternation. One thing they found funny, however, was how the body flicker technique was different due to Naruto's bloodline. Instead of the usual smoke and leaves, the sudden transfer left some of Naruto's golden fur behind instead of the usual leaves. After popping a few times in the clearing, Naruto inspected himself much to the amusement of his companions until he was satisfied that his molting didn't leave him bare naked. Naruto just ignored the cackling from the duo and snorted. When they got to the office, the Hokage told Nico to keep guard outside while they waited for Tsunade to arrive. Nico gave Naruto one last hug before she left, but not before giving the wolfman a few scratches behind the ear that made Naruto whine in happiness. Naruto heard and smelled Tsunade coming near the office. He gave the Hokage a wolfish grin and hid himself behind the door, which didn't do much due to his size but enough to hide him from Tsunade. Tsunade entered the office oblivious to the prank. Sensei, what's the reason you called me up here at this time of night? What happened to Naruto? Demanded Tsunade, not really happy for her sleep to be interrupted. She had too much sake earlier and wanted to sleep the effects off. Doing what Iruka did to them earlier, the Hokage simply pointed towards the direction behind Tsunade. Tsunade whirled around and came face to face to a grinning 9-foot-tall golden werewolf. She blinked at the sight. The wolfman blinked and gave her a lick from chin to hairline. Tsunade did the only thing reasonable to her at this point in time. She screamed bloody murder. "Iya!" Tsunade screamed and reared back a fist and proceeded to punch the hostile-looking creature in front of her with all the strength she possessed. To the shock of everyone in the room, the wolf just raised his hand and caught Tsunade's super punch with the palm of his hand. A small shockwave emanated from the force of the punch, but the wolf looked as if it didn't affect him all that much, which left both the Hokage and Tsunade flabbergasted. "Tsunade-bie-sen? That hurt." Naruto whined in protest, letting go of the fist and waved his numb hand, willing the numbness to go away. Tsunade just looked at him in shock, then awe, then anger. "Naruto! Don't you dare scare me like that! I could have killed you with that punch!" Realizing what she just said. "How in the world did you block my punch? That should have destroyed your hand." Naruto continued to whine and waved his injured hand, willing the numbness to go away, but he could feel that it was already in the process of healing. He was just happy that the punch didn't break any of his bones. "Don't know. I just reacted. When I saw your fist nearing me, my hand just went up on its own and caught it," he explained, then whined again. "And it hurts too," he said in a pained voice, his ears drooping. Now Tsunade was guilty for hurting her favorite patient, then proceed to heal the injured hand. She discovered that it was already healing at an astounding rate, and the bones weren't even shattered by the force of her attack. "Amazing. It's almost healed and not a single one of your bones and muscles were damaged. In fact, it seems like your nerves just got damaged a bit due to the punch," exclaimed an astonished Tsunade, running a diagnostic technique over the hand to examine as much as she could to add to her report on Naruto's bloodline. The Hokage, seeing the prank was successful, decided to get started with the discussion. "Now that you're here, let's get started. Naruto, why don't you start by telling us what happened this evening?" Naruto nodded and moved to the front of the Hokage. He was about to sit on the offered chair and saw that it was too small for him, so he just removed the chair by lifting it up by its arms with one hand and placed it on the side, then flopped down in front of the old man, causing the room to shake a bit. Both Tsunade and the Hokage was awed at the awesome strength the blonde casually displayed as if it was nothing. "Let me see, it all started when I failed the academy exam again." Naruto proceeded to tell them what happened. The offer Mizuki gave him to pass the exam, how he stole the scroll without the ANBUs knowing about it. This info made the Hokage's eyebrow twitch and Naruto to give him a sheepish grin. Learning the Kagebushin and the legendary summon technique, this info got a raised eyebrow from the older people in the room. The revelation of the Kyuubi inside him, Sarutobi winced when Naruto gave him a glare. The change and how he put Mizuki down. At the end of the tale, Sarutobi let out a long sigh and decided to tell Naruto about the Kyuubi. "Naruto, before you glare at me for keeping the Kyuubi a secret from you, you have to understand that you were too young to know about it, and besides, knowing you would have shouted it off the rafters. That would practically bring out every villagers down your throat. I made sure that the ANBU protected you from the mobs when you got out of the orphanage, and you knowing and talking about the Kyuubi would only make things worse. Besides, I planned to tell you about the Kyuubi anyway when you became a genin, since that would allow me to protect you easily, since that would put you under my command," explained a tired Sarutobi. Naruto was silent and listened to the old man's explanation. In truth, he did understand the old man's reasoning. He was dead on about his attitude. If he knew the truth, and his past self would have flaunted it to every villager just to spite them. He sighed and gave the Hokage a wolfish smile, telling him without words that everything was alright. "I understand, Hokage Gigi. You were right. I wasn't equipped to handle that information if you consider how loudmouth I was before my bloodline activated for the first time." Naruto paused. "So does this mean that you know my parents as well?" Both Sarutobi and Tsunade went stiff at the question, which didn't go unnoticed by the blonde. Sarutobi gave out a tired sigh. "Yes, Naruto. I do know your parents." He raised his hand when Naruto was about to say something. "But I can't tell you yet because your parents told me that you are not to be told until you are Chunin, or you have the necessary skills to protect yourself. Your parents were powerful shinobis and they have attracted a lot of enemies during their time in the Leaf. If they accidentally learn about your identity as their son, then you will be swamped with assassination attempts that not even your bloodline can protect you. So please, Naruto. For now, let this old man keep this secret for a while longer. I just want to keep you safe." Naruto released a loud growl that made the glass on the window shudder. He sighed and gave out a plaintive whine. Fine, Gigi. But you promised to tell me when I'm stronger, right? Seeing the Hokage gave out a pleased smile and a nod, which he returned. Okay, Gigi. I'll hold you to it. So what now? Now I want Tsunade here to give you a thorough checkup to see what has changed when you transform to your wolf form. I want to make sure that nothing will cause serious problems later. Also, I want to know if this is a permanent transformation or not so I can make the necessary arrangements just in case. Naruto gave a nod which prompted Tsunade to activate her diagnostic technique, which resulted both her hands gaining a greenish aura. She placed her hands in various parts of Naruto's body, including the area where his little wolf was located, which caused him to blush. He didn't turn red, but the rising of his fur was definitely a sign of blushing for someone like him. Tsunade continued to scan and prod the wolf for almost 30 minutes before turning the technique off. So what's the verdict, Tsunade-bie-san? Asked an embarrassed Naruto, still thinking of how close Tsunade's hand was to his little wolf. Tsunade bopped him on the head for the title before giving them the complete result of the checkup. From what I gathered after I diagnosed his body, there is nothing wrong with Naruto when he is in this form. Yes, this is only a temporary form. From what I checked, the DNA strand that contained the wolf transformation gene is still separate, but it seems to be dominant this time around considering the amount of chakra it's been releasing. Before, the human gene was releasing chakra, so I guess that the wolf gene was dormant. Anyway, it seems that Naruto got a boost in all of his abilities. His Digitsu seems to be activated without requiring him to consciously do so. His strength is 10 times more when he was human, which gives testimony to how he was able to block my punch without any obvious damage. His muscle and bone density tripled, so I guess his speed also went up a notch. From what you told me how he threw those A and B's around like a rag doll, that doesn't require any explanation. His chakra network also expanded after the change, so he is holding 3 times the amount of chakra he has to fit his body size. Well, that's it. Tsunade finished her explanation, which left the werewolf and the Hokage flabbergasted with the result. Wow. Cool. Bellowed an excited Naruto, then released an ear-splitting howl that smashed the glass on the windows in the office from the force of it. Naruto stopped the howling when he saw the shattered window and grinned sheepishly while scratching one of his ears with a clawed finger. So, how do I turn back to my human form? Both Tsunade and the Hokage looked at each other, then at Naruto. The slug Sannin shrugged. Don't know. From what you told me, rage seems to be the trigger to your werewolf form, but we don't know what the trigger would be to turn you back. All I know is that you have the ability to do so. Damn it. How am I supposed to work with me like this? I mean, I won't even fit inside Saji's shop, being 9 foot tall and all. Whined a clearly distraught werewolf. The Hokage was about to say something when the door to his office was violently thrown open by a distraught Inuzuka clan head. Hokage-sama. Something is wrong with my dogs. The howl earlier made them. She trailed off from her shouting when she saw a large golden-furred wolfman staring at her along with a shocked Tsunade and a sighing Hokage. What in the world is that? She pointed at the wolfman while her partner Kurama was whining behind her. The Hokage sighed. This is going to be a long night. So let me get this straight. Naruto-san, pointing at a clearly sleeping Naruto in his wolf form in one corner of the room, tail and ears twitching every now and then, has a bloodline similar to that of a wolf that allowed him to turn into that, pointing to Naruto again, who snorted in his sleep, oblivious to the world around him, which granted him unbelievable strength, speed, and agility with senses that surpassed those in my clan. She took a deep breath then. Did I leave anything out? The Hokage just shook his head. Nope, you got it all. Now, this is an S-class secret temporarily before we can discover what Naruto can really do. Once we have a complete readout of all of his abilities, then we can release it to the public. I am thinking of making Naruto as a clan head despite his age, since it is one of the laws that the Shodaime enacted when he formed the village. Those who have a bloodline are automatically clan heads. Everyone became quiet, their own thoughts occupying their minds. Tsunade thinking of Naruto's bloodline, the Hokage thinking of ways to improve Naruto's way of life in the village, and some about the revelation of this alpha wolf in the village, an alpha that is obviously far above his own clan and kennel that made her and Kurama, her dog companion, nervous as their instincts told them to just bow down to the golden-haired wolf sleeping in the corner. A loud grunt from the sleeping werewolf in the corner surprised them. Tsunade, who didn't like to be jolted like that, proceeded to bop Naruto on the head hard. Naruto woke up immediately with a whine. What did you do that for, Tsunade-basan? Can't you see I was sleeping? Whined a clearly annoyed Naruto. Tsunade snorted and gave the wolfman a glare. It's about time you woke up, Gaki. We have to find out where we can hide you till you change back to your human form. She turned her attention to a clearly amused Hokage. Sensei, where is Jiraiya? He should be here. The Hokage thought for a moment before bringing out his crystal ball. He made a few seals, then proceeded to activate his spying technique. He saw Jiraiya currently sprawled out on his bed in one of the hotels in the village. He is sleeping at the moment in the Leaf's Embrace, a hotel in the entertainment district. Do you want me to order an ANBU to get him? Tsunade thought for a moment, then grinned. Nope. I'll do it myself. She turned to Naruto and gave him a speculative leer which made the blonde werewolf nervous. Gaki, I want you to go to Training Ground 44 and wait for us there. The Hokage immediately looked at Tsunade with a frown on his face. Training Ground 44? Why in the world would you want Naruto to go there? The place is dangerous. There are wild animals in that forest that could hurt him. That is why I want him to go there. Look at him. Do you think any creature in the forest could hurt him? He told both occupants in the room while jabbing a thumb behind her indicating the blonde. The Hokage, Tsum, and Kurama looked at the blonde werewolf who was sitting innocently on the floor in one corner of the room, ears twitching and tail waving behind him. When he noticed the attention he was getting, he gave them a wolfish smile, showing off his razor-sharp teeth that made the Inuzuka matriarch and his dog companion cringe. The Hokage sighed. Good point. Naruto, do you know where Training Ground 44 is? He asked. Naruto grunted in affirmative. Is that where the crazy snake lady trains? Sarutobi's sweat dropped at the obvious reference to Mitarashi Anko. Yes. Can you go there now and wait for us there while we go and get Jiraiya? Sure. Naruto nodded and disappeared from the office, leaving some golden fur fluttering around where he stood. Everyone was silent, looking at the floating fur, and Kurama spoke when the last one fell on the floor. You know, if he does that all the time, then he will definitely be bald in the future. The rest sweat dropped at the comment. Tsunade arrived at the Leaf's Embrace and proceeded to ask the front desk what room Jiraiya was in. After getting a response, she immediately trooped up to the pervert's room, then slammed her foot on the door, knocking it off its hinges. She strode in and saw that Jiraiya was still asleep, the sound of the door breaking not waking him up. With a grin, she made a few hand seals and shot Jiraiya in the face with a low-powered water bullet that woke the toad Sannin spluttering and cursing. He saw a grinning Tsunade and growled. Tsunade-chan, what did you do that for? Giving the slug Sannin a mock glare, wiping the water from his face. Tsunade smacked him on the head. Wake up, pervert. We have a situation. Meet me in the old man's office ASAP. She disappeared via Shunshin, followed shortly by a disgruntled Jiraiya. After explaining to an awed Jiraiya what happened earlier that night, especially to Naruto, the Hokage, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Tsum, and Kurama immediately went to Training Ground 44 to meet with Naruto. They didn't see Naruto at the entrance, but they heard a sound of fighting somewhere deep inside the forest. Without waiting for any prompt, all of them dashed inside following the noise, hoping that Naruto didn't get hurt from the various wild animals in the forest. When they got to a clearing deep inside the forest, they sweat dropped at the sight. Naruto was currently giving a very large tiger a chokehold while being surrounded by passed-out tigers. These tigers were twice as large as the normal ones and clearly dangerous. Even Anbu feared to face them in a group. When Naruto saw that he has guests, he immediately released the unconscious tiger and gave them all a wave. Hiya guys. Sorry about this. He gestured towards the passed-out tigers in the clearing. They attacked me while I was playing around, so I kind of retaliated. He, explained Naruto while scratching the back of his head in embarrassment. Everyone just shook their heads in amazement at how Naruto was able to manhandle such large creatures that Anbu was afraid to face or even attack. So Gaki, how does it feel to be the only werewolf in Konoha? From what they told me about you and Nico earlier, I would bet that every ladies in Konoha would just love to tussle with you. Giving Naruto a perverted leer and giggling a bit as he scribbled something on his notebook. Tsunade smacked the perverted sage on the head and looked at a blushing Naruto. Hey kid. Have you discovered how to change back to your original form? Naruto shook his head, looking comical since he was still in his wolf form. Nope. But I have an idea though. Tsunade prompting him to go on, he continued. I read in the Forbidden Scroll of a legendary summon technique that summons an animal that you are attuned with. I'm thinking that it is quite possible that my summon animal will know about me or my bloodline. Maybe they can help me control it or something. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Tsum gave the blonde werewolf a confused look. What technique is that, Gaki? I never heard of that before. Asked Jiraiya. The Hokage chose to answer this one. The technique that you used to call on to your respective summons. If I recall, Jiraiya was able to call upon the elder toads of Mount Myaboku while Tsunade called up Katsuyu of the slugs. Orochimaru was able to call Manda of the Snake Clan as well. They all became your summons after the three of you passed your respective tests. It is slightly different from the regular summoning hand seals that you use now. Both Sannin nodded in remembrance, but Tsunade was concerned over something. Are you sure, Sensei? If I remember correctly, both me and Orochimaru passed out when we tried it due to chakra exhaustion. Naruto is still too young to do it. Yes, he would be too young at the moment to attempt the summoning, but you told me that Naruto has 3 times the chakra he has in human form, so it means that his chakra is 4 times my own. He can do this technique easily with enough chakra to spare, explained the Hokage. Tsunade nodded. The boy indeed have more chakra than all of them combined at the moment. If she would hazard a guess, his chakra reserve is currently on par with a low-level Bijou or tailed beast. Okay, Naruto. Proceed with the summoning. We will stand back a ways in the forest to avoid angering the boss you will be calling to you. Naruto nodded and looked around the clearing, thinking it was big enough for such an experience. He pulled in a deep breath and released it slowly. He went through the seals he memorized from the scroll and slammed it on the ground while calling out the technique. Denkiteki Kuchios no Jutsu, legendary summon technique. The chakra surge that Naruto released was enormous as he shouted the technique. A large puff of smoke covered the entire clearing before it dissipated, revealing a sight that could even make Manda, the boss of the Snake Clan, cringe in fright. Naruto was standing on top of the head of a gigantic wolf, easily twice the size of Gamabunta. The wolf sported a large scar that passed through its right eye, dark gray fur with white slashes like that of a tiger's stripes. The fangs were quite visible, and many could easily say that it was very sharp. The unique thing about the wolf is that it sported 9 tails similar to that of the Kyuubi. The wolf spoke in a voice that reverberated throughout the entire forest. Who summoned me here in the mortal plane? Speak before I unleash my wrath on you. Naruto chose this time to make his presence known. He knocked on the wolf's head, making everyone who was hiding in the forest wince at the disrespect, and spoke directly to the summon. I'm Hirokami, Wolf-san. I, Uzumaki Naruto, summoned you. Knowing that someone was on top of his head, the large wolf summon jerked his head upwards, throwing Naruto off his head, but before the boy could do anything, the wolf swiveled around, allowing one of his tails to slap Naruto, forcing him to careen towards the ground with enough force that it left a 3-foot-deep crater with him, the werewolf, groaning in the middle. Naruto groaned at the sudden impact and pushed himself up. He shook his entire body to get the shock off like it was nothing before giving the grinning giant wolf a glare. What did you do that for, Baka Okami? Shouted Naruto, clearly annoyed at being slammed on the ground like a rag doll. The wolf's grin widened some more, revealing more of its razor-sharp teeth. Oh ho. You survived that, did you? He gave the boy a closer look. Would you look at that, I didn't know your kind survived after all these years, said the wolf in amazement. My kind? What can you tell me about my kind? Demanded Naruto. The wolf gave him a fanged grin. I will tell you if you defeat someone of my choosing in combat. Since you have summoned me here, as my summoner, I need to determine if you're worthy to summon the Moonwolf clan. Will you accept my challenge, young pup? Taunted the wolf. Naruto bristled at being called pup. He bared his teeth at the huge wolf and shouted at the top of his lungs. Bring it on, you oversized plush toy, challenged Naruto. Everyone who heard Naruto's insult and challenge slapped their face in unison. The Hokage sincerely hoped that Naruto would survive the challenge, or in worst case, enough of him to be buried in a funeral. You are quite courageous, pup. Let me call my champion for battle. The wolf boss sat on his haunches and a large puff of smoke appeared in front of him. This time, the wolf that appeared was twice the size of Naruto, sporting blood-red fur, claws and fangs ready for ripping. It sported 3 tails waving behind him. You called me Fenrir-sama? Genjutsu, Crescent Moon, we have a new summoner to test, informed the newly named Fenrir to the new arrival. He gestured towards Naruto, who was busy checking out the new red wolf in front of him, with his muzzle. Genjutsu saw Naruto and was surprised at the challenger. Interesting. So one survived the Great Cataclysm? This should be interesting indeed. Genjutsu got into a battle stance. Are you ready, young pup? He taunted the blonde. Naruto heard the taunt and just gave the wolf a challenging grin. Fighting another wolf made the blood in his veins boil with anticipation. Hidden instincts boiled to the surface, readying his muscles, instinctively telling him how to attack and defend with ease. Both fighters were at the ready, waiting for some sort of signal before attacking. Sensing the need, Fenrir gave them the much-awaited signal. Begin. Genjutsu heard the signal and immediately dashed towards Naruto, mouth wide open, fangs glinting in the moonlight, lunging for Naruto's throat. Naruto was surprised by the sudden attack, but his instincts saved him from being decapitated by jumping to the side. He launched a counter-attack on his own with a swipe of his sharp claws, which the wolf easily avoided by jumping over Naruto, somersaulting and attacking Naruto's back with his paws, leaving deep gashes and blood being spilled on the ground. Naruto grunted in pain but could already feel the wound healing. Deciding to give back what he got, he mule-kicked the wolf on the ribs that caused it to be thrown 10 feet away from the healing blonde. Genjutsu shook the cobwebs away from such a strong kick and eyed the boy with anticipation. He was expecting an easy fight, but it seems that the boy was making this a challenge for him. Fenrir, who was eyeing the fight, was enjoying the start of the match. He thought that the boy was done for when his champion executed one of his prize techniques. He was shocked that the boy withstood the attack and countered it, effectively throwing his champion away, giving him time to gather his bearings. This boy has potential, but it is still too early to tell at this point. Let the match continue, he thought with a grin. Naruto decided to attack this time, so he dashed towards his recuperating opponent and released a powerful punch aimed at the face. The wolf easily saw through the attack despite the speed it was executed. Simple swerve to the side and snap his jaws at Naruto's extended arm. Naruto saw through the attack and yanked his arm back to avoid getting it chomped off by the sharp fangs the wolf was sporting. He aimed a kick to the ribs again, but the wolf was ready this time, so it was avoided easily, but not before giving the blonde a few scratches on the side. Both jumped back to get some distance and formulate a plan. "Oh, you are something, pup. Only you have withstood one of my attacks and hit me at the same time. However, you are still way too young to defeat me in combat," said Genjutsu, eyeing the blonde for a weakness he could exploit. He saw none, which greatly impressed him. Naruto scoffed at the obvious taunt to rile him up. He was currently in his wolf rage stance, so he easily covered up his weak areas while readying his body for an all-out attack. "Yeah, right. I think the kick I gave you rattled your brains a bit, wolfie." Genjutsu's sweat dropped at the poor attempt at name-calling. "You're a wolf too, pup." The summoned wolf deadpanned. Naruto blushed at the mistake. "Shut up. Are we going to fight or not?" shouted Naruto, challenging the wolf yet again. Genjutsu grinned. "Yes, we are. You might want to try this on for size." The wolf glowed an eerie white before releasing it with a howl. The clearing was suddenly filled with 30 Genjutsus, solid ones, all bearing their fangs at him. "Now let's see you fight your way out of this one, pup," giving the last part an added tone that came out as an insult, hoping to rile up the blonde wolf in front of him. Naruto grinned. Well, this wolf's seen nothing yet. He placed his hands in front of him in a familiar seal. He hasn't tried this yet in his wolf form, but he was always best at on-the-spot improvisation. "I'll top your 30 wolves with this. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." Smoke engulfed the entire clearing, shielding both fighters from view. What Fenrir and Genjutsu saw when it cleared scared them. Genjutsu was surrounded by hundreds of Narutos, some of them on the ground while the rest were perched on the trees, all of them grinning down at a wide-eyed Genjutsu. "So, shall we begin, Genjutsu-san?" taunted Naruto with a fang-filled grin that brought shiver down everyone's spine. Not seeing any answer, Naruto snapped his fingers and bellowed his command. "Charge!" Genjutsu only have one thought in mind when he saw all the Naruto clones charged at him and his 30 clones. Shit. Naruto dispelled what's left of his clones when he saw Genjutsu twitching on the ground, his body littered with bloody gashes. Despite the obvious number difference in their clones, the wolf champion matched each of Naruto's clones blow for blow, showing off that his experience in the battlefield was nothing to be scoffed at. Naruto also didn't get out of the match unscathed. He was no longer wearing any pants, but he was happy to see that his little wolf was clearly hidden behind fur and skin. This confused him a bit. He was also sporting a lot of wounds when he was ganged by 3 of Genjutsu's clones. Tired from the battle royale, he sat on the ground, panting from exhaustion. He was startled by a loud booming laugh that echoed throughout the forest. "That was quite a battle, young Naruto. It seems that the Moonwolf clan has a new summoner today. We welcome you to our clan," Fenrir declared with a voice filled with pride. Another wolf appeared in front of him, this one a little bit smaller than Naruto, carrying a black scroll in its mouth. "This is the summoning contract of the Moonwolf clan. After you sign this with your blood, the clan will be forever tied to you and to all your blood relatives. Unlike other summons, we of the Moonwolf clan are family summons, meaning that no one will be able to summon us in battle against you. The pack is family, and the family is pack. That is the clan's motto, and as is yours from now on. Your battles are our battles, young pup," declared the holder of the contract after placing the blue-black scroll on the ground in front of the werewolf. Naruto nodded tiredly and walked over to the scroll and kneeled right in front of it. He opened the contract scroll and saw a bunch of names he didn't recognize. Shrugging, he used the clawed finger to open up a gash on his left palm, letting the blood pool a bit before using the tip of the nail of his right index finger like a pen and wrote down his name beside the last entry. Instinctively knowing what to do next, he covered his right hand with the blood that pooled on his left palm and stamped it down below his name. The contract glowed for a bit before it closed up. The small wolf bowed, bit down on the contract and returned to the summoning realm in a puff of smoke. All done, Fenrir-sama. Instinctively using the correct honorific for his summon's boss. The large wolf nodded its head in pride over the pup's instinct to determine the alpha in the situation. I suggest that your friends hiding in the woods to come to the clearing so I can inform you of your heritage. Hearing the words coming from the boss, the Hokage, Tsunade, Jiraiya, Tsum, and Kurama entered the clearing towards Naruto. Tsunade immediately went to Naruto's side and started healing his numerous, yet already healing, wounds. After she finished, she looked at the gigantic wolf and pointing at the still unconscious Genjutsu. You may, Lady Summoner of the Slugs, and thank you for the assistance. Fenrir answered the unspoken question. Tsunade was inwardly shocked that the large wolf summon knew of her summons, but she ignored it for now as she proceeded to start healing the red wolf's wounds. Fenrir then looked at the rest of the group. Such a grand pack you have here with you, pup. The Lord Summoner of the Monkey Tribe